Money from all over the country has been pouring into today's Wisconsin Supreme Court contest. The race has national implications that could determine the fate of the Trump agenda. Republican Brad Schimmel and Democrat Susan Crawford are vying for an open seat on Wisconsin's highest court. In Florida, voters going to the polls deciding congressional races. The 1st District seat that was held by Republican Matt Gaetz is up for grabs. In the 6th Congressional District, voters will fill the seat left vacant when Republican Michael Waltz took the job of Trump National Security Advisor. This could be a make-or-break week for parts of the Trump agenda.
The Supreme Court may rule this week on multiple emergency applications related to President Trump's executive orders. These include the deportations of Venezuelan gang members under the Alien Enemies Act. Justices may also decide on a lower court's ruling requiring the government to reinstate millions in Department of Education grants. A ruling could come soon on the firing of thousands of probationary federal employees. Tasha Stevens reporting.
Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Chuck Grassley is looking to rein in judicial overreach.
Under Grassley's bill, judicial rulings would be limited to the parties involved, meaning any judge's orders would not apply to others who may be similarly situated but did not file legislation. Speaker Mike Johnson says federal courts answer to the House.
We do have authority over the federal courts, as you know. We can eliminate an entire district court. We have power funding over the courts and all these other things. But desperate times call for desperate measures, and Congress is going to act. So stay tuned for that.
The House is expected to consider similar legislation this week that would also limit judges' abilities to impose nationwide injunctions. Bernie Bennett in Washington.
Powerful storms that extended from the south to the upper Midwest blamed for at least a half dozen deaths. On Wall Street, ahead of this morning's opening bell, Dow futures down more than 200 points. NASDAQ futures off 69. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Heard me talk about Relief Factor and how so many people enjoy a better, more pain-free life because of it. If you're dealing with everyday pain, it makes sense you'd want to try it first. Well, Relief Factor makes that pretty pain-free, too, with their 3-week quick start kit for only $19.95, less than $1 a day. Relief Factor is a daily supplement that fights pain naturally. Relief Factor doesn't just mask pain temporarily, it helps reduce or eliminate pain. Visit ReliefFactor.com or call 1-800-4RELIEF, 800-4RELIEF for Relief Factor.
Progressive knows not all rides are smooth. Meet Sarah. She loves her motorcycle. What she doesn't love is when it suddenly rains. As she sits underneath a bridge waiting for it to stop, she grows quite fond of the graffiti on the overpass. She really likes the one with John Hart's Claire and wonders if they're still together. Not every ride is smooth, but Progressive has your back. Get an online quote in as little as 3 minutes and see if you can save with America's #1 motorcycle insurer. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates, not available in D.C.
In Myanmar's capital, rescue workers have saved a 63-year-old woman from the rubble of an earthquake-collapsed building, but hopes of finding many more quake survivors are fading fast.
The fire department in Naypyidaw says the woman was successfully pulled from the rubble early on Tuesday, 91 hours after being buried when the building collapsed in the 7.7 magnitude earthquake that occurred at midday Friday. Experts say the likelihood of finding survivors drops dramatically after 72 hours. So far, the military-run government has reported 2,065 people dead, more than 3,900 injured and 270 missing. Those figures are widely expected to rise. I'm Charles Philadelphia.
Germany's chief diplomat describes President Trump's attempts to secure a truce in the Ukraine war as deadlocked, but China's foreign minister says ongoing talks between Washington and Moscow are encouraging. News and analysis, townhall.com. Belt tightening is in the offing at one of the biggest federal agencies, with payrolls expected to shrink significantly.
Across the Department of Health and Human Services, nervous employees are waiting to see whether pink slips will arrive in their inboxes. Mass firings are expected after Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. last week announced a massive reorganization of the department of 82,000 workers. The changes will result in 20,000 fewer jobs overall. About 10,000 will be eliminated through layoffs. I'm Lisa Dwyer.
NASA's celebrity astronauts Butch Wilmore and Sonny Williams say they would fly on Boeing's Starliner capsule again. The two spoke at their first news conference since returning to Earth a couple of weeks ago. SpaceX ferried them home after they spent more than 9 months on board the International Space Station. More on these stories at townhall.com.
What in the wide, wide world of sports is going on here?
I promise you, whatever scum did this, not one man on this force will rest for 1 minute until he's behind bars. Now let's grab a bite to eat. Yeah, come on.
I feel the hot wind on my shoulder and the touch of a world that is older. I hit the switch and check the number. I leave it on and then I slumber. I hear the rhythm ringing through it. Flamenco guitar and cumbia music. I hear the talking of the DJ. The devil said, what does he say? I'm on a Mexican radio. I'm on a Mexican world radio.
Broadcasting live from high atop the J.P. White Building in downtown Roswell, New Mexico. It's Mornings with Mike Winters on 106.5 Roswell's Talk FM.
Is that what I sound like when I talk?
Now, here's your host, Mike Winters.
And good morning, one and all. Welcome to Mornings with Mike Winters. I am he. That would be me, Mike Winters. Happy Tuesday, everybody.
Ah, yes. Welcome to it.
A little breezy today.
It was nice, kind of nice.
Tell. Oh, right now it's pretty sweet. Matter of fact, I left my poop.
Look at you.
I brought it because I needed the poop. But it is in the car.
It's just the right kind of cold that as I take my kids to drop them off at their mom's house for pickup and whatnot.
Yeah.
I'm driving two ghosts to the house because they both have just blankets completely covering their heads. And so I'm just driving Inky and Blinky over to mom's house.
Nice. Yeah. Tell them, oh, maybe that's the perk up or I'm going to eat a power pellet.
I'm going to eat you.
But yeah, the wind's going to be a blowing later today. They're going to issue red flag. Red flag warning kicking in at noon and a high wind warning kicking in at noon, both expiring at 9 p.m. this evening.
Yeah.
Yep, they're talking winds today out of the southwest early 15 to 25, increasing 25 to 35, gusting as high as 45 miles per hour. Could see the blowing dust stuff after 3 today, is what they're saying.
Let's tie anything that needs to be tied down.
And I think, hold on, let me confirm, but I think this is our last 80s day of the week.
Yeah?
Yeah, because tomorrow will be, where's it at? 69.
Nice.
Thursday, it will be 70. Friday will be 57. And then Saturday, we are looking at 46.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And then Sunday, we're looking at 55. There's rain chances. Thursday night at 50%, Friday at 70%, 60% Friday night, 80% Saturday, 30% Saturday night, and click on a little 20% mix of rain and snow for you Sunday. So that's our week of weather. So enjoy your last day of 80.
Yes.
This week. So.
But, reasonable for tomorrow and some the rest of the week, but then 46.
I ain't gonna lie. One last hurrah, some cooler weather with some rain.
One last ride, boys.
Come on in.
Yeah.
Why not? Because I know in 2-3 weeks it's gonna be scorching and we're gonna be complaining. So I'm gonna be like, you know what? Drink in this last
100%. I'll love one more cold snap. I'm not complaining about it even the slightest. I just think it's odd that because you go to like any storefront, they all have their like springtime floral selection.
Right.
They're all nice and in bloom now. And
problem is that's all during baseball. Like that's Thursday through that's like baseball time. So it's gonna put a damper on baseball. But
proof that God's a basketball fan.
God loves the Commanders.
That's right.
I just alienated about the whole audience, all Cowboys fans.
But no, it's proof that that's the case. He's a basketball fan because the NCAA tournament continues this weekend. They don't want you going to watch your kids play baseball. You've got important bracketology to follow here.
Watch indoor sports.
For those of you who still haven't broken your brackets.
Well, they're down to the Final Four, so everybody's busted. But
well, not necessarily.
I think. I'm pretty sure. There's.
Is it Final Four weekend or is that next weekend?
I'm not sure when they play, but they're down to the Final Four because Tech got eliminated Saturday. I saw when I was at the inn. I was at the bar there eating, and they were all watching the Tech game, and I tuned in about 7-8 minutes left in the game, and that's when people started saying, "Yeah, I don't think it's looking too good for Tech." Florida was just unstoppable at that point. So,
it's actually depressing to me how little I know about sports.
Well, I learned all that by sitting eating food and drinking while watching the TV and everyone complaining. I don't watch basketball.
Sitting at Thomas's watching during Misty's party, they were watching one of the.
Oh, it was the Lobo game.
Was it?
That was the Lobo game.
Was it the Lobo game?
Yeah, because I was at that one.
I just think it was kind of funny that I was looking at the score and everybody was like, the game's shot. And I'm like, there's still half a game left. They're only in number 2. They're only in the second period.
In all fairness, this is my rule of thumb for basketball. You could pretty much not watch the entire game and tune in with about 2 minutes left in the game, and then you got everything.
Everything you could possibly need to know.
Yeah.
Literally, I tuned into the last, and it was like 4 or 5 minutes of the Gonzaga game.
Yeah.
And when they got taken out by Houston, and I learned not only did I enjoy the game that I watched, but I also learned that Mace's son plays for Houston.
Nice.
From the No Limit Soldiers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, you always see that in sports. There's always some. Usually it's other athletes, but every once in a while it's a non-athlete.
Right.
But it's basketball, football. You see it a lot. Usually football. It's usually like I don't know how many kids LeVar Arrington has, but I've seen like 3 different ones on various college teams.
I'll be honest. I'm surprised we haven't seen more of Snoop Dogg's kids make it on the football field. Like as many of them play and as good as they are.
Like, what's his oldest kids?
I don't know. I think he's got to be up to at least college age by now.
Is he? Yeah. I don't know. Maybe he's not into football.
Maybe. Foxy boxing. He's wanted to be a promoter.
Maybe he's a chess player. Who knows? But they see that quite a bit. Let me give you the rundown for you for today's show. It is forgot the most important part. Happy April Fool's Day.
Yes.
It is the first day of April. April Fool's Day. Be on your guard.
I actually heard a really, really good one.
Yeah?
So if anybody wants to try this one on their spouse and their spouse doesn't listen to this show, if they use bar soap, take their bar of soap, coat it in clear nail polish.
Wow.
Because no matter how hard they try, they cannot get that thing to lather up.
Yeah.
Yeah, coat it in shellac.
You know what? A lot of wives are going to be doing that because in my head, if there's bars of soap in a shower, dudes.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah, women always use body wash and the floofa things.
It's like it's a famous black comedy territory, but there's like, how come white people only use bar soap and they all use the one bar and nobody uses a washcloth? They got that one bar, got all kinds of hairs on it.
No,
which is totally true in my house.
But my wife has like her, I don't know, body soap she orders from somewhere that's probably way more than it needs to be. And then I literally have I think at the moment I have Dial.
Okay.
So
I want you to cast your mind back to childhood or to the family environment. Did your family have a family soap, like a go-to soap brand?
Yes.
Okay. What was yours?
Well, it changed.
Okay.
In my younger days, we were a Zest house.
Ooh, you were zestfully clean.
Yeah.
Okay.
But somewhere in my late middle to high school, my mom switched to Dove. And so there was Dove bars everywhere. So
I see.
And I was kind of salty about that because I was like,
well, there's 1/4 moisturizer in Dove.
I know, but Dove was not marketed to dudes back then.
Yeah, no, it wasn't. You know what's hilarious is my father, for all it was worth, he was very much a brand specific man. He liked very specific brands. Like I've told you before, he only ate like Total cereal and of their varieties like Total Raisin Bran, Total Cornflakes. But the soap that was in my house from the entirety of my childhood up to young adulthood. Lever 2000.
That makes sense. I was going to say something that's not something very abrasive or something. Yeah,
Lever 2000 for all your 2000 parts. Yeah. He loved Lever soap.
I'm surprised he just didn't have a can. And this is something that my grandfather always had was and if you have family members that are mechanics or things like that, they would also have it. In lieu of soap, they'd have that big tub of that grease goop, the degreaser goop, and it always smelled a combination between gasoline and Vaseline.
Right.
And then, but by golly, it got that grease off your hands. But my grandpa always smelled like that gasoline, Vaseline, whatever goop was in that stuff he degreased his hands with.
When I was a kid, there was a commercial for, I think it was Lava hand soap, for the Lava soap. And it always talked about how it cleaned better and faster than Gojo and Fast Orange. Those were the two brands they mentioned.
Yes.
Cut to today. My friend's daughter has a dog named Gojo.
Nice.
And every time I hear that dog's name, I cannot help think also of Fast Orange.
Nice.
I don't even know if it still exists as a product. It just pops into my head.
It's like an orange cat, kind of like Heathcliff or whatever. Go with that would be Fast Orange.
That would be Fast Orange, indeed.
Well, although I'm not gonna lie, and we gotta get the show going, but I hear Gojo and I go, knowing is half the battle. Gojo.
Gojo. Right.
G.I. Joe, real American hero. All right, let me give you the rundown for today's show. That's all I got to say about that. Robert Sherman, patiently waiting in the next room to talk Walker Aviation Museum with us. I guess an update there. We're going to replay some interviews in the 8 and 9 o'clock hours. On the 20th of the month, we had from the district attorney's office, Deputy DA Hunter Spindle join us. Had a great conversation with him. So we play that in the 8 o'clock hour. And then in the 9 o'clock hour, back on the 17th, we had Josh McDonald join us from the Rocky Mountain Elks Foundation. Their Roswell banquet's coming up here in 12 days, April 12th. So I figure I'll play that, give you a last-minute reminder to get your tickets and all for that great event they've got planned there. Plus, we'll do all of your features, include the newses of the local and national variety, Wall Street business updates, few commercials to pay for lunch, and whatever else we can come up with for today's show. But first, the weather.
I'm meteorologist Steve Hamilton with your Pecos Valley weather. We have a high wind warning in effect today. We have cold front moving through the area. We won't see any rain with that, but the wind will be really gusty today, up to 50 miles an hour. Blowing dust, mostly sunny, and will be in the mid-80s. Overnight, it stays very windy. We'll drop into the low 40s with a few clouds, and then breezy and sunny on Wednesday. It will be quite a bit cooler, highs around 70. That's your latest forecast. I'm meteorologist Steve Hamilton.
Thank you, Steve. Currently, scroll up there. There we go. 59 degrees here in Roswell. Humidity is at 22%. Winds out of the south at 16 miles per hour. As I mentioned earlier, red flag warning and high wind warning issued for today beginning at noon, remaining in effect through 9 p.m. this evening. Expect areas of blowing dust this afternoon after 3 p.m. Sunny and a high of 83 for today, but the winds will be out of the southwest this morning, 15 to 25 miles per hour. As the day increases, so will the winds, 20 to 25 to 35, gusting as high as 45 miles per hour. Tonight, areas of blowing dust continue until about 9 p.m., then mostly clear with an overnight low of 44. Winds will keep blowing out of the west, 25 to 35, gusting as high as 45 miles per hour. Winds should drop down out of the northwest 10 to 20 later in the evening. And then Wednesday, another windy day, patchy blowing dust after 3, mostly sunny, 69 for a high with northwest winds 5 to 10. Early 15 to 20, gusting as high as 30 by Wednesday afternoon. And then Wednesday night, continued breezy. And then Thursday, we're looking at sunny and 70. Winds actually not too bad out, 5 to 15. But then Thursday night, and then in through the weekend, through Sunday, we got rain chances. We'll get to those as we get a little closer in the week there. All right, 7:19, we're going to take a 3-minute break, and then Robert Sherman will join us on the other side to talk about the Walker Aviation Museum. Don't go away. You're listening to Mornings with Mike Winters.
When managing a chronic illness, access to the right treatments makes all the difference. Artesia General Hospital's Infusion Center provides IV therapy and biologic treatments, so you don't have to travel far for care. Expert infusion therapy right here in Artesia. Call 575-736-8256 today to learn more.
The Roswell Symphony Orchestra presents Kinderman Plays Beethoven, Saturday, May 3rd, 7:30 p.m. at Pearson Auditorium in Roswell. William Kinderman returns to Roswell to perform Beethoven's Piano Concerto No. 5, Emperor, along with works by Weber, Dvorak, and Richard Strauss. Tickets are on sale now and are available at roswellsymphony.org or by calling 575-623-5882. Kinderman Plays Beethoven, Saturday, May 3rd, 7:30 p.m. at Pearson Auditorium in Roswell. Paid in part by the City of Roswell Launder's Tax.
The Rocky Mountain Elks Foundation salutes hunters in the role they play in providing critical funding for conservation. Celebrate how hunting is conservation at the Rocky Mountain Elks Foundation Annual Banquet, Saturday, April 12th at the Eastern New Mexico State Fairgrounds. The Roswell Banquet will take place on April 12th at 5 p.m. Get your tickets now at rmef.org and go to the New Mexico Events tab. Celebrate hunters at the Rocky Mountain Elks Foundation Roswell Banquet, Saturday, April 12th at the Eastern New Mexico State Fairgrounds.
Good morning, this is Smiley Wooten at the Roswell Livestock Auction. 1,087 head of cattle sold on Monday on the steady to higher market with excellent buyer attendance. Compared to last week, stocker calves sold 7 to 11 higher. Feeder cattle 10 to 14 higher. Packer cows and bulls sold steady. 3 to 400 pound steers $475. 3 to 400 pound heifers $4 1/4 to $455. 4 to 500 pound steers $377 to $5. 4 to 500 pound heifers $366 $385. 5 to 600 pound steers $340 $377. 5 to 600 pound heifers $318 $366. 6 700 pound steers $286 $340. 6 700 pound heifers $270 $318. 7 800 pound steers $257 $286. 7 800 pound heifers $235 $270. Packer cows $136 $144. Canner and cutter cows $130 $133. Packer bulls $165 $177. Feeder bulls $158 $162. The top half of the cow calf pairs $2,400 to $3,150 per pair. Top half the bred cows $2,300 to $2,650 per head. Now remember, this is the top of the market and prices range down from this according to quality, quantity, condition, and feel. We do appreciate the business. We'll talk to you next Monday morning. This is Smiley Wooten, Roswell Livestock Auction.
It's possible to turn peanut butter into diamonds. Peter Pan tried it with his buddy Skippy, but they couldn't do it in a jiff. Here's Mike Winters.
And good morning. It is 23 minutes after 7 o'clock, and joining us in studio this morning from the Walker Aviation Museum, Robert Sherman back with us. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Mike. How you doing?
Doing great. How about yourself? Enjoying the weather, wind out the wind and all that?
Yeah, the
80s are nice.
Kind of enjoy yourself till noon, and then it's going to start blowing dust. Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, the museum is still not quite ready to be open yet. However, we do want to encourage folks to visit the museum's website, because even though we can't, let you, fly in simulators and do all the cool stuff, there is a wealth of information and stuff there at the website here. But we're still doing with contractor renovations, things like that, getting getting back from the flood there at the museum.
There was some delay in getting money from the city or whatever, so that we could get this going. But now that's happened, and now we're just waiting for some final things for them to give Brandon Arnold for Arnold Construction. He needs just a copy of or sample of what they want as far as carpeting.
Ah, gotcha.
So I guess it's going to match what's in the waiting room area as well as in the museum.
That makes sense.
So he's waiting to get that so we can order it, and it'll take about 2 weeks. But he's got some wall repair to do and stuff, too.
Okay. So is that kind of what's left? Some wall stuff and then the
wall
carpet?
And carpet. And we didn't have that much damage. It's just a little water where it kind of saturated the carpet. And I think the carpet they're going to put in now is going to be the type where they can just suck the water out and not have to change it.
So I was curious, do you guys have ample storage to keep stuff, the relics and artifacts?
We have two storage rooms in the the U-Haul storage area.
Gotcha.
Down there on South Main.
Gotcha. Okay, I was just thinking, man, I know, stuff's protected, but at the same point, I'm sure it needs to get out to the museum at some point.
At some point, yeah, absolutely.
But hopefully, folks, as soon as like I said, the carpet thing. So hopefully, in a month or so, we might be talking about.
Yeah, he said 4 to 6 weeks. 6 weeks at the very worst. I really hope it's 4 weeks because we've got some schools coming in from Colorado.
Ooh, wow!
They did the same thing last year, and they're kind of bringing the kids down. It's a special kind of school, and they're going to be showing them some stuff. So
nice.
We definitely hope to be open with our stuff in place so we can show them items and stuff like that. So.
Well, cool. Well, hopefully it'll be a full-fledged museum by the time they get here. So.
Yeah. And if you're out there in the audience, I'm going to later, before the program's over, I'm going to give you about a 6 or 7 minute quick history of the B-36 bomber that was here.
Nice.
Back
one of the many aircraft
early 50s. Yeah.
That at one point called the Walker Air Force Base or Roswell Army Airfield home here.
So, right.
For folks that are new to the area or maybe have not heard, the Walker Air Force Base Museum is located in the air terminal, the airport here. And it pays tribute to the military Air Force Base that once that part of town called home here. It was initially Roswell Army Airfield. After World War II, when the Air Force became official, it changed over at some point to Walker Air Force Base. And of course we honor the World War II and Cold War missions that this part of the country served. Of course, Walker Air Force Base, if you were a bomber crew serving during World War II, odds are pretty good you spent some time in Roswell, New Mexico training for that job. Right. And then of course, for folks that don't know, those early generation intercontinental ballistic missiles, they were those first generation of missiles. Roswell, or this part of Chaves County, was definitely home to those
Atlas missiles.
Yeah,
right?
The Atlas, the first. They're the very first. Those are the ones that still didn't have the fuel cells. Like if you go see the Titans or the Minutemen, those are way more advanced compared to those very first ones that were here. So.
Yeah, even though they did use them for some of the space work.
Oh yeah,
the same Atlas missiles, but
they found some civilian work for them.
And they had 3 of those Atlases blow up on the launch pad while they were refueling.
Well, and if
it didn't kill anybody and didn't have any atomic weapons on top of the.
Thank God.
Thank God for
Although
that.
the way those are designed, when a nuke won't cook off unless you set it to cook off. They've got mechanisms in place even back then to kind of keep that part.
Thank goodness.
If the thing goes awry, that part won't go up.
Yeah.
But then it's kind of weird because they have all kinds of codes for that stuff. And this is from my Air Force days. Okay, it's not correct, but if y'all remember that movie that came out, I'm going to say in the 90s with John Travolta and Christian Slater called Broken Arrow, and they're flying that stealth B-2, sort of, esque of that thing, and basically they lose a nuke, and then we've got a broken arrow. That's not the correct term the military uses, but yes, broken arrow is a term in that world, and there's a bent spear and a couple others like that, and so there's protocols, procedures, and all that stuff. But that movie kind of dealt with some of that, anyway, not accurately, by the way. So Howie Long was in that one too, if I remember right. That movie. But anyway, sorry, I was sidetracked there.
Ever since the flood on the 19th of October, after the flood, we had a couple inches of water. That's about maybe 1 inch of water. And we just went ahead and stayed open for about a week. But the carpet had been saturated, and they wanted to go ahead and repair some walls and stuff. So
while we're at it, let's fix it.
After about maybe I forget what day exactly, but probably around the 26th or so, we closed down and they got ready to do some repair. And then we had some waiting going on as far as getting the money to make that happen. So anyway, that's kind of what happened there. So we've been closed for, I can't believe how long we've been closed. So I really apologize to people out there and people that want to come and see us and stuff like that. So
absence will make the heart grow fonder.
That's right.
Once it opens, you'll appreciate it that much more.
Yeah. And when we do get the carpet in and start moving stuff around, I haven't talked to them yet, but hope to maybe get some of the youth challenge young men to come in and help us.
Excellent.
Help us old guys move those big heavy things around. But they sometimes enjoy doing that. We'll see if that'll.
Well, they are they are great servers in the community over there and doing a lot of stuff.
We were going to ask them to do that initially when we had the flood, but then there's no, that class is over and they're leaving. But we've been closed now for so long.
Might have a fresh class for you.
Yeah. Current board members, myself, I'm the secretary now. Allie Bishop, she's still the treasurer, and she's one of the volunteers that works at the museum, as well as myself. Katie Yates is a member of our group. Sandy Correa, Bob Donnell, he's a museum volunteer also. Juliana Howerson, everybody knows her.
Oh, yeah.
Jerry Cloffer. I was going to get a hold of Juliana. Every time I look at the paper, she's somewhere on the front page there.
She's always city council
meeting,
work and everything
some
else.
Meeting going on.
She's got a busy slate and a day job beside all that, too.
Jerry Cloffer used to be the librarian and worked out at the museum.
Yeah.
I mean, out at NIMI, did some other stuff. Then we got our one and only Friar Jorik Nowacki.
Yeah.
The local priest here, Catholic priest. And then
all around good
Stephen Miller. He's a museum volunteer for Wednesdays. Allie Bishop, she's a Thursday volunteer. Doug Weezer's our new president.
Yep.
And he's general manager of Cattle Baron and stuff. So he was going to be here today, but he had a meeting pop up on him.
He had to do general manager stuff.
Yeah. Peggy Boland is a member of our group, and she's involved in a lot of things, including camp invention and all that kind of stuff.
Which, by the way, invent.org is, you can get, they're limited to 75 this year. For camp invention for the kids this year. Yeah. So go to her website and get locked in now if you want to, just the first week in June.
She's taking a vacation. I think right now as we speak, she's tromping around in Iceland.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I said, you going to Iceland? I said, no. Anyway, Josh Bootson is a new member of our advisory board. He's a great guy. And we had a new person come, and I think she's going to be joining us, and she wants to work at the museum, Holly Niels, Nehls. Holly Niels, she was at our last meeting, and she's great.
Nice.
We're looking forward to having her part of our group.
Well, when the museum opens again, they're always looking for volunteers and things. If you're looking to spend some time, whether it's serving on the board or as a docent on put it this way, when the museum's open, it's usually around the flying schedule, so it's kind of around lunchtime during the week there.
When it does open, it's going to be about 2.5 hours probably prior to the midday departure. Yeah. So if you find out when the American Airlines departs, like 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and back off of that about 2.5 hours, and that's when we open up.
Now, more volunteers means more hours it can be open.
That's right. Oh, absolutely, yeah.
So if you'd like to volunteer and you're thinking, man, you guys should be open more, I agree.
Yeah.
Come help out, and then we can have that thing open maybe a little bit more expanded, or even weekend hours or something. Who knows?
Oh, absolutely.
But, yeah.
No, we'd love to do that.
Yeah. They can do stuff by appointment too. So if you've got a youth group or organization that would like to set up a time to tour the museum, obviously not right this second, but once it's back operating again, please reach out through the website or other means or the Facebook page, and they'll be happy to talk to you about that and get that set up.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Give us a call. I'll be glad to go out there on almost any time of day.
Yeah,
7 days a week. So,
and they got some really great stuff there. Of course, we talk about the STEM side of stuff. So if you've got youth that really into STEM, and this is something you can do right now. If you go to wafbmuseum.org, which is the museum's website, there you can learn all about the career fields, STEM related work. There's tons of videos, airline industry, all the different facets of careers and opportunities through that.
Yeah.
Pretty much every STEM career in Southeast New Mexico has some information about it on that website somewhere.
Yeah, if you go to wfbmuseum.org.
Yeah.
And then if you're on your smartphone, just go up in the corner where there's those horizontal lines.
Yeah, the little tab line.
Touch it, and then touch on education. And then when you get to education, that'll show you exactly the program that we have using the flight simulators we got from a grant from XL Energy.
Which they're legit. You can actually,
if
you get certified on it, you can actually start earning
Lockheed software. They can land almost any
But if you're
airport
trying to
in
get
the
your
world.
pilot license or something, you need those flying hours. Those actually count. That's how, this is an arcade game. This is what the pros use to learn how to fly.
That's right.
Although that doesn't mean your kid might not be still better at it than you. But
yeah, that's usually the case. Interesting. And it's a challenge to the young men out there. When we get a group of young adults in, on the average, generally the women do better than the guys.
Okay.
And that's because with the flight simulators, you kind of have to anticipate what you're going to do and kind of be easy with it, rather than guys kind of grab something and jerk it back and forth.
It's on or off. There is no degree of between.
So some of the gals, so you can come in and you can compete on how well you can take off or land and stuff like that.
Nice.
Yeah. So
is there a deal where they can land on carriers like Navy?
No, I don't think so. But
because that'd be a hoot.
That's what I told some of the pilots come looking in. And they're getting ready to fly out, and they go, "Oh yeah, fly." I said, "Well, this one here, you can, we have it set up for like a little Cessna, but you can pick an airliner and land in Istanbul, Turkey at 9:00 at night in the rain.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because you have a simulated rain at nighttime." And they go, "Oh, wow, okay,
nice." Well, plus, I imagine for some of if it's like some of these, especially if they were veterans, and they're probably saying, "Hey, can you put me in F-22?
Yeah,
put me
F-22s.
Put me in something a little bit. It's kind of more Corvette like than what their day flyer is here.
You get the young kids flying that, and occasionally we get them into that just for the heck of it, and say, "Hey, got to turn off the afterburners. You're going to go too fast here."
Every once in a while, I get on an airplane and I'll fly, and I'm like, I bet this guy was a former fighter pilot. Just by the way he's taking off and landed, I bet this guy's got some fighter in him.
Well, I used to joke around when you land on an airliner. Depend on how you land. You say, "Oh, that must be a former Navy pilot," because they come right on down and boom,
slam it. Yeah, as a Navy
because
pilot,
they got to land on a carrier. They can't go coasting down the
they got to
runway.
catch that guide wire, so they slam
right.
it down.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a different world in that. Oh, by the way, and the ship's moving also at the same time.
That's right.
It's Navy pilots are nerves of steel, man. Especially they're doing carrier,
and even the guys working on the flight line, or the Air Force, they're all kind of like not out there when the plane touches down. Where the Navy guys are all right there.
Well, just a gee whiz, for instance, I was a weapons a bomb loader in the Air Force
with the stealth fighters.
With stealths,
yeah.
But how we load bombs in the Air Force is not the same as how Navy guys do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like we use bomb lift trucks and things. No, they're using manual stuff. They get you. The only thing we manually load that's of large size is missiles. We'll hand load those.
Like air-to-air missiles.
Like air-to-air, like your AIM-9s or but these guys, like I have a bomb lift truck that I'm putting 2,000-pound bombs on, and that's hydraulic and all that. No, they just get a couple Navy guys up underneath, and they got this little crank thing that they can crank it up into. It's I saw it and I was like, because they don't have the room on the aircraft carrier deck for all that kind of stuff. So they got to work compact where we got a little space. So, but anyway, I was like, I'm glad I'm a weapons troop in the Air Force, not the Navy. I like to use technology to help me. So, but anyway,
one of the things that we've done when we're open out there is we've made a sheet that's 2 pages, front and back, and it's how to use the Walker Aviation Museum website career information. Because part of our mission, of course, is showing the history of Roswell Army Airfield or Walker Air Force Base.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other half of what we do is we work with young adults that are kind of in the stage of, what am I going to do for a living? That type of thing.
Sure. And
I think a lot of reason we did that is we were joking the other day. We were sitting there eating at Pepper's, a bunch of guys that are about my age that went, Roswell High School, class of 61, for those out in the audience. We didn't really have that many at all counselors to say, okay, what do you want to do for a living, when you get out of here? And where now I understand somebody mentioned that Goddard had 8 counselors, or maybe they're teachers that are / counselors, whatever.
Yeah, it's evolved greatly since you and I are certainly were in
So
school.
that's kind of what we have, the sheet that provides them exactly all the stuff that the kids get when they go out there, the young adults go when they go out there. And there's 12 different videos, the last one being a day in the life at CIA.
Nice.
Talks about all the science stuff, the recruiting stuff. And you start out saying, if you think all the CIA is like, 007 or something, it's a lot more stuff going on with the CIA.
I'm about to say there's that world, and then there's the whole mundane, what do you work for the CIA? What do you do? I'm a receptionist, or I'm a data analyst that sits there and puts one thing and one thing. And
or if I tell you, I'll have to kill you.
Right, yeah.
No, that's right.
I mean, granted, we watch the Snowden movies and all that, and we see like, here's like the decoder section, and these guys are doing, there's a whole lot of mundane with that too.
Yeah. But we have this sheet that we hand out to folks coming through, and they're headed back to, say, New Hampshire or Pennsylvania or whatever, and they've got a grandchild or their son that's, somewhere between 13 and 18, and so we give them this, and they can go online, and there's a particular website that you can access eventually through working with our education part of our Walker Aviation Museum website, but you can go directly to that, and it's called ONET Online. And I just use my phone, and I just put, it stands for Occupational Network Online.
Okay.
So you can put Occupational Network Online, and it'll come up, and it'll show you the thing, and it's ONET. O standing for occupational, net, network, and then online.org. So onetonline.org. It'll come up, and first thing it has is like a little area that says dental assistant, I believe. And you can type in anything you want to that point, and it'll give you 4 or 5 different jobs below that, because that particular website lists 1014 or 1016. It keeps changing, but different careers.
It evolves as those
and
get
it's
added
listed
and go.
alphabetically, and you can go through there.
So you can kind of search by industry if you're I want to get into this industry, and then this shows you all the jobs in that industry.
A lady was at our church group the other day, and she's a junior in high school, and she said, I'm going to be a teacher. So I went on there, and there's about 4 or 5 on teachers, and then there's on being, people that work with teachers and stuff. So there may be 10 areas that they could click on, and each one of those 1016, you click on it, and it'll give you about maybe anywhere from 15, 20 pages of data, of information, all the way to how many people are going to be hired in the next 10 years, what your probably pay is going to be based on your zip code that you put in. Plus, gives you all kinds of what your skills are, what your work activities are going to be like, and it gives a lot of people a chance to kind of like, wow, I hadn't thought about doing that.
Yeah.
And that's everything from welders to doctors to nurses.
The world's your oyster there. Just take a gander and see what
and then
like
on our website, we have a few little short things on careers as far as the Air Force goes. We've got aerospace ground equipment. We have air traffic control and electronic principles, and then geospatial intelligence. So those are just little quick
that first one
of Air Force
is called age. Basically, all the equipment that when the jet's sitting on the ground and they got to put power on it or they got to put air on it, the equipment used, that's age. Like when I drove my little bomb lift truck, I was talking, age guys are the ones that work on those things. And, that's the air conditioning units, you name it. They mule units that get hydraulic fluid to aircraft. That's the age guys. That's what they do.
Yeah. By the way, though, when you go to that education block on our website for the Walker Museum, as you feed down through there, you'll see some of these videos, and then you come also to an area for professional pilot training, and we actually on that website, and you can play these on your phone by just touching it on your smartphone.
Okay.
But we have 38 videos on professional pilot training, and it's a total of 12 hours of. If you watch all 38 of them, it's 12 hours of, watching as far as and give you a really good deep background on being a pilot.
Yeah.
And just as far as the ground school goes,
Well,
like
and that's if folks have really that dream or aspiration, do your research. See if it, doing doing a work on the front end really seals the deal on if this is what you want to do, or rather than you go down that path, invest time, dollars, and energy, only to find out that this is not really your cup of tea. So this really can kind of
that's exactly
kind of
right.
set, really cement in or dissuade you from what you're leaning towards.
Yeah, I know. My cousin, I told the story before, but his son says, I want to be a dentist. So he said, okay, son, before I give you $1, you have to go volunteer and work at a dentist office for a week or two.
Smart.
So he went off and did that, and I think he lasted a day and a half, and he came home and he said, no way.
Yeah, that's my cup of tea. Huh?
But as we speak, he's an eyes or ophthalmologist.
Okay. So he went up. He went
and
north.
He married a woman, and she's an ophthalmologist, and they got their own company now. And
he saw the light.
And he loves his job, but he definitely decided, no, I don't think I want to be a dentist.
Well, you know what? If I had to pick sockets, I'll take eye sockets over mouth socket any day.
But we had a student of the month at Kiwanis today, and
nice.
That gentleman was going to be a dentist, and I told that story, and he said, no, I've already worked with dentists for
He's already been in the mouths.
He said, I love it. I like it. So
good.
That's good.
Awesome.
I have a little.
We need more of them.
Should we do this little blip on?
Yeah, let's talk about the B-36.
The B-36. Okay. See if my voice holds up here. Walker Air Force Base. B-36 was part of the base here from about 1952 to 58, somewhere in that time frame.
Okay, so
sorry,
Korean
I don't
War.
have exactly the months and dates, but that's kind of the time. And I remember living on South Adams at the time, and it flying over my house, and my mother not being too happy with it because the vibration caused things to vibrate off the top of her piano.
That one was a little rattler.
Yeah. Okay, so in SAC, B-36 was the primary nuclear bomb delivery system for SAC from about the late 1948 till 1955, and then it was replaced by the B-52.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons they developed the B-36 was in 1941, they started working on it because they thought, well, if England gets invaded by Germany, then in order to fly, we need a bomber that we can attack Germany from the United States. And actually, they were looking at flying out of Gander, Newfoundland, and to Berlin and back. It was 5,700 miles.
And this is something that, nowadays we don't have to worry about that kind of stuff because of air refuelers. They can literally, like by comparison, the B-2 bomber, for folks that don't know, its home base is Whiteman Air Force Base, right in middle America here. When it's going to fly its missions to bomb in the Middle East, it flies out of Whiteman. It does not, like our other jets, our F-15s and smaller aircraft, they go park them in Saudi Arabia or Kuwait or Qatar or wherever out there. Those B-2s will literally fly their mission, leave out of Whiteman, hit their tankers, do the thing, drop their bombs, and then hit back here and then land at their home base. Back then, that's why they didn't have air refuel technology back then. Yeah. And so they needed to get how can we get as far as possible without refueling because if they're flying a bombing mission out of the United States, they're going to hit a bunch of landing spots to before they got to cross the pond or whatever it is to have enough gas. And so these B-36 was probably tried to serve the role of how far can we get on a tank of gas with this
really
thing.
Long range.
Yeah.
And they also were looking at needing it to attack Japan from Hawaii. But, later on we had got Saipan and Tinian and those islands that were a lot closer. So U.S. Army Air Force ordered initially about 100 B-36s from Consolidated Volte Aircraft Corporation, later called Convair. And before the completion of before completing the two prototypes, the completed B-36 first flew in August of 1946. But they started trying to design it in 41.
Okay.
But Convair, or this other, Consolidated Volte Aircraft Corporation, during World War II, they quit working on the B-36 and they built B-24s. So the B-17s and B-24s were the main aircraft.
They were the workhorses of World War II.
That's right. So that's kind of why that got delayed. The B-36 was the only aircraft with a carrying capacity to carry the heavy initial atomic bombs from the U.S. to targets in USSR. The carrying capacity of the B-36 was 4 times that of a B-29.
Nice. So it could have a big payload and go far, and that was and that was kind of the goal of that time. The biggest spear, the farthest we can get it.
Until the B-52 became operational in 52 with the smaller bombs. B-36 was the only aircraft capable of delivering the nuclear weapon, and it was the initial one was a Mark 14 hydrogen bomb.
Okay.
And that bomb was 25 feet long, 5 feet in diameter, and weighed 42,000 pounds.
Wow. Fun tip. If you ever hear a bomb and it starts with Mark, that's a Navy bomb. Those comes out of the Navy.
Really?
Yeah, MKs, those are Navy. And then they modify, but like your laser-guided bombs, generally those they come off a Navy bomb, and then they put a seeker head and some fins on it. Now it's a GBU. But yeah, the Mark 82s, Mark 84s, those are all. When you see Mark, that's a Navy product. But
the B-36 had 2 bomb bays, and they had to merge, modify it. So anyway, the propulsion system is kind of interesting on the B-36. It had 6 28-cylinder Pratt & Whitney radial engines mounted in a unusual pusher position where the blade were behind the wing.
Okay.
And those blades weren't small. They were 19 feet in diameter.
Whew.
And
I imagine crew chiefs and a ground crew.
Forget that low vibration.
Yeah,
stuff.
they were very cautious walking around that bad boy.
And the total horsepower of those 6 engines was 22,800 horsepower. That's for all 6. And then they later added 4 turbojets. They were located on the wingtip area, and that gave the B-36 40,000 horsepower.
Ooh. Bet some people got tumbleweed when that thing fired up.
When they were going places, because it had such long range, they could get up and turn off. Well, they wouldn't use the jets that were used for takeoff.
Gotcha.
Sprint over the target. But they would turn off, a couple of those 6, cylinder engines.
Sure.
And, 6
just enough to
prop engines.
Let the glide.
Yeah, and
keep
they would
them
be running on 4, and they wouldn't be using that much
and
gas.
that's how they save fuel big time, yeah. And weight, I'm going to guess, too.
And the bad part, nightmare, if you were a mechanic, those long-haul flights were a lot of times really long. I'm talking about 40 hours and stuff. Anyway, they had to replace all 356 spark plugs. Kind of like a nightmare. I can imagine like 8 spark plugs used to be a lot for me. I'm thinking,
right,
356 spark plugs?
That's some guy's work shift.
Also,
spark plugs
when they fired all the turrets, they had kind of automatic 20-millimeter guns. But when they fired those 20-millimeter guns, the vibration was so intense that it blew out light bulbs inside the aircraft and also damaged a lot of the electrical equipment.
That's a big gun. Like, by comparison, like when you watch like your World War II movies and you see the guys in the B-17s and the gun, those are 50 cal.
Yeah.
A 20 mil, that gun, that's the same gun that's sitting on the front of an F-16 or an F-15.
Yeah.
The exact same gun.
Yeah.
That's a big gun. Like normally that's mounted to an aircraft. It's not, it's like the aircraft's built around it. It's that's crazy.
The B-36 was known as 6 turning, 4 burning, with the 6 props and the 4 jets. However, humorously, because of all the problems I had with overheating and problems with the engines, it got to be known as 2 turning, 2 burning, 2 smoking, 2 choking, and 2 more unaccounted for.
That is vintage crew chief humor right there.
That's vintage, crew chief or mechanics and stuff.
Yeah.
But some of the later B-36s were, all the guns were taken out and really lightened up, and they were able to fly 47,000 feet or higher as a reconnaissance aircraft.
Gotcha. So they found another mission for
and
it.
Some other little quick things that's kind of interesting. I know we got to go here. They started out initially with tricycle landing gear and the wings, 2 tires on the side were 9 feet tall, 3 feet wide, and weighed 1,300 pounds each, and it had enough rubber in it to make 60 car tires.
Ooh.
But what happened was it was too much weight per square inch.
Gotcha.
And it's only like they found 2 or 3 places in the United States they could land because of that weight. So they end up.
Roswell's probably one of them.
They put 4 tires on there instead of 1.
You say that, but Roswell's probably one of those 4 places it could land at.
And
that's cool.
As far as bombs go, it could carry 87,000 pounds of bombs.
That's a lot of ordnance.
Consider this: that's 10 times more than a B-17, and the B-17 itself weighed 54,000 pounds, but it could carry almost twice as much as an entire B-17 weighs. Period. So anyway, that was a little B-36 history.
That's a cool plane. Now, that being said, the plane that replaced it, tip of the cap to it because it's still in service today. The B-52 is still actively involved in defending our nation.
I think they're getting ready to do some engine changes.
Yeah, they just keep modifying the bad boy and then keep adding. Yeah, now the B-52 of then versus now is not the same B-52. Don't get me wrong. But,
yeah, sure.
But it is the same big buff aircraft. That's its nickname, Buff, B-U-F-F.
And you picture that bomb that I described as weighing as much as it did, that big. Now you look at the Minuteman, but have like 3 atomic weapons on top of it, and you could look at those and put it in, the trunk of your car.
Yeah,
easy.
It's crazy.
I mean, it was
Of course, folks, if you have, like I said, hopefully, knocking on wood, 4 to 6 weeks here, we're having a museum open back up here. But in the meantime, I invite you to check out their website, www.wafbmuseum.org. Or you can just Google Walker Air Force Museum, and you should pop right up if you can remember all that. I also invite you to like the Walker Aviation Museum Facebook page. That's a great way to stay up to date on as we give updates on when the museum will open back up. That'll probably be one of the first places it'll hit the public. So please like that. And, of course, if you're go to the website, if you'd like to donate, there is a Donate Now button there to help cover a lot of the museum's free, but a lot of times it runs on donations people make, and so with it being closed, there's not a lot of money in the coffers right now. So could use some help there. But volunteer as well if you'd like to come and serve as a docent or serve on the board. Please reach out to the website here and let's see how we can.
Also check out that onetonline.org.
Yes. Absolutely, if you're looking for your children or you yourself looking for a new career, go start there and see what.
As a matter of fact, on our
up.
education side, we have 480 jobs that are STEM type jobs listed in the Roswell area, based off of 3 phone books. So the kids can have all kinds of information they can come across.
That's right. So when they're looking for stuff, just point them there. wafbmuseum.org.
Yeah. Okay.
Robert, always appreciate the visit, and we will see yourself or Doug or both maybe next month here. And hopefully maybe next time we're seeing you guys, we're talking opening back up.
Hope so.
Good deal. Thank you. Appreciate it as well, Robert. All right, it is 7:58. Let's pause for some local news before national news. Don't go away. You're listening to Mornings with Mike Winters.
Now with your Pecos Valley News Update. I'm Jared Cirillo. Thanks for joining us. Our top story, DHSEM's Disaster Case Management Team is hosting Contractor Connects, a community repair and rebuilding expo on April 5th from 10 to 2 at ENMU Roswell's Physical Education Center in Roswell. The free, family-friendly, and open to the public event is designed to connect residents who had damages from the October floods to contractors who are licensed by the state of New Mexico. During the event, residents will meet with licensed contractors, hear about available services, learn about processes and permits, and take the first steps to rebuild and repair their properties. Roswell Police and New Mexico State Police have been working together on a recent operation targeting retail theft and shoplifting. The efforts resulted in criminal charges against 65 people. The operations were conducted over 9 randomly selected days from November to March in cooperation with loss prevention teams from Walmart, Target, Home Depot, and Marshall stores. 13 people were also physically arrested, according to a statement provided by Roswell Police. You're up to date. I'm Jared Cirillo.
I'm meteorologist Steve Hamilton with your Pecos Valley weather. We have a high wind warning in effect today. We have cold front moving through the area. We won't see any rain with that, but the wind will be really gusty today, up to 50 miles an hour. Blowing dust, mostly sunny, and will be in the mid-80s. Overnight, it stays very windy. We'll drop into the low 40s with a few clouds, and then breezy and sunny on Wednesday. It will be quite a bit cooler, highs around 70. That's your latest forecast. I'm meteorologist Steve Hamilton.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. Wisconsin voters heading to the polls today in a closely watched election for a seat on the state Supreme Court, which has national implications for the future of President Trump's legislative agenda. Former Wisconsin Attorney General Brad Schimmel is the conservative candidate for the Supreme Court.
My opponent went out and promised she was going to engage in congressional map redistricting, which would result in, she said, 2 Republican congressional seats turning Democrat. That's the danger, because you take out 2 Republican congressional districts, and suddenly now you have at the national level, President Trump doesn't have any majority behind him. They see a great opportunity to change not just Wisconsin politics, but American politics.
Polling places in Wisconsin will be open until 7 p.m. local time tonight. Spending in the hotly contested Supreme Court race expected to exceed $100 million. There are 2 congressional races being decided today in Florida. In the 6th district, voters will fill the seat left vacant when Republican Michael Waltz took the job of Trump National Security Advisor. And in the 1st congressional district, the seat that was held by Republican Matt Gaetz is up for grabs. President Trump says the U.S. has been ripped off by its trading partners for way too long, and that's about to end.
The president has dubbed Wednesday Liberation Day. It's when he will raise U.S. tariffs to match what other countries charge. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt.
He's doing this in the best interest of the American worker.
Businesses are unsure what the tariffs' impact will be. The stock market has tumbled over the past few weeks, and Goldman Sachs raised its forecast for inflation. Greg Clugston, Washington.
The powerful storms that hammered the South and the upper Midwest are blamed for at least a half dozen deaths, including 3 children in Michigan. Watching Wall Street, the Dow down 270 points. The NASDAQ is off 34. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Here's an important message from the Diabetes Solution Center. Do you like pricking your fingers to test your blood sugar levels? No one does, but it's important to maintain your health. And now, by wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you don't need to prick your fingers anymore. It's easy to use and helps you make more accurate diabetes treatment decisions. If you are testing your blood sugar 3 or more times daily, injecting insulin, or using an insulin pump, call the Diabetes Solution Center right now. And if you have Medicare or most major insurance coverage, you may be able to get a new CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost. Shipping is free, and we'll even bill your insurance company for you. If you are testing your blood sugar 3 or more times daily, injecting insulin, or using an insulin pump, call the Diabetes Solution Center right now to learn how to end the painful finger sticks and get your own continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
Communist China's military announcing large-scale drills around Taiwan as it again warns the self-ruled island against seeking formal independence. A spokesman for the People's Liberation Army's Eastern Theater Command says the joint drills involve Navy, air, ground, and rocket forces. The exercise meant to be a, quote, severe warning and forceful containment against Taiwan independence. Rescue workers have saved a 63-year-old woman from earthquake rubble in Myanmar's capital, but hope is fading of finding many more survivors. The earthquake that rocked the country on Friday is worsening a humanitarian crisis caused by a bloody civil war. Authorities say the woman who was rescued was successfully pulled from the rubble early this morning, some 91 hours after she was buried alive when a building collapsed. The military-run government reporting the death toll at 2,065. News and analysis, townhall.com. The village where a young Abraham Lincoln came of age is in for a long overdue facelift.
Lincoln lived in New Salem, Illinois as a young man from 1831 to 1837. The federal government reconstructed the village in the 1930s, but long neglected maintenance has led to major problems. The drive shaft in the grist mill has fallen out of the floor, and the roof of the carding mill has a hole the size of a refrigerator. After agitation by Gina Gilmore Wolter of the New Salem Lincoln League and action by local lawmakers, Governor J.B. Pritzker's administration pledged this month to put up $8 million to restore the village, which annually draws hundreds of thousands of visitors. Keith Peters, Washington.
Hours after a nearby town was evacuated, a volcano is erupting in southwest Iceland. Molten rock on the move, accompanied by an intense earthquake storm. More on these stories at townhall.com.
What in the wide, wide world of sports is going on here?
I promise you, whatever scum did this, not one man in this force will rest for 1 minute until he's behind bars. Now let's grab a bite to eat. Yeah, come on.
I feel the hot wind on my shoulder and the touch of a world that is older. I hit the switch and check the number. I leave it on and then I slumber. I hear the rhythm ringing through it. Flamenco guitar and cumbia music. I hear the talking of the DJ. The tabloid said, what does he say? I'm on a Mexican radio. I'm on a Mexican radio.
Broadcasting live from high atop the J.P. White Building in downtown Roswell, New Mexico. It's Mornings with Mike Winters on 106.5 Roswell's Talk FM.
Is that what I sound like when I talk?
Now, here's your host, Mike Winters.
And good morning. It is 6 minutes after 8 o'clock. Welcome to hour number 2.
Los Deuce
of Mornings with Mike Winters, right here on 106.5 Roswell's Talk FM. Happy Tuesday.
Indubitably.
Yeah, going to get a little blowy out there later today. So, batten down the hatches.
Already kind of looking a little overcasty, a little dreary. Less than springtime.
Yeah. So, enjoy the niceness while we have it.
I believe
short-lived for a bit.
This year, Easter is, I think, the latest it can be.
Okay.
Because there's a spectrum of like.
When is Easter?
It's on 420, brah.
Nice.
Yeah.
5 days from my birthday.
Yeah.
25th. I was almost an Easter baby.
It's very
weird. It was late when I was born that year too.
Because you've got Easter Sunday, you've got, of course, the National High Holiday, and then you've got WrestleMania weekend is on Easter weekend. I'm like, how am I supposed to spend time with my kids?
Yeah. I'm surprised. I thought they always kind of steered away from sporting events on Easter.
Generally, I think it's like a frowned upon thing, but
yeah,
it's just they intentionally pushed it back a couple of weeks this year.
Like NASCAR used to not run, and now I'm not sure if they do now, but I think it did kind of that line got crossed at some point here.
NASCAR
15 years.
They're missing an opportunity if they don't run on Easter, because think about it. You could run a great 500 lap, and you've got this giant grass field in the middle. You could have kids looking for Easter eggs. Just cars whipping by him at 120 miles an hour.
I'm going to take a stab. You've never been to an infield of a NASCAR race.
Yeah. I've seen. You can hide them under the RVs, man.
And the drunk, you can put them under the passed out drunk dude.
That's right. It'll be great. It'll be a whole line of kids while a car careens as a tea kettle over on the side of the infield.
That's right.
It'll be fun.
While the topless girl was riding the mechanical bull, put an egg under that.
Yeah. It'll keep it warm.
Yeah, it's a scene from what my limited experience at one. But yeah. But
it's interesting. The egg roll, the national egg roll, is going to happen on the White House lawn, as it always has traditionally this year. However, this year, a few weeks ago, a press release was sent out offering corporate sponsorships.
Nice.
So the joke is the White House National Easter Egg Roll presented by Tostitos.
Nice. I like it.
So it's open for corporate sponsorship now.
As much as Trump likes to put out sneakers and all these various things, I'm surprised there isn't like the Trump golden egg. This is the best rolling egg of all of the egg rolling, and it's made from pure Trump gold.
It would be apropos. I personally think they should just brand the eggs. It should look like NASCAR jackets. Yeah, M&M's like Viagra over one corner.
Well, the Red Bull Monster STP.
How much more interesting would that make the egg roll? You're like, come on, Tampax.
The Boudreaux's butt paste egg was really good.
Mark Martin rolling the Viagra egg.
Yeah,
Give you something to root for, you know?
I like it.
And then afterwards, the kids can go on there and they can, like, you know, thank God and the fine people at...
I'm just a big, hairy winning machine.
The fine people at Wonder Bread for all the glory they bestowed upon you.
Thank you to KFC for the delicious chicken.
We're here at the KFC pre-chicken roll.
Which came first? Breakfast.
We're about to find out.
Start with the eggs and end the day by rolling chicken fries.
Little Susie rolling the Kellogg's egg. That's what we need is commentary. We need to get like Pat McAfee and like let's see who'd be really good.
Snoop Dogg.
Yeah, you know what? Pat McAfee and Snoop Dogg would be a fantastic. Hey, yo, welcome back to the Tostitos presents the White House egg roll. It's getting crazy up in here.
I'm telling you, they need to get it sponsored by Eggos waffles. Kellogg's Eggos. When you can't have egg, get an Eggo.
Get an Eggo. And they can have the waffle roll next year. Right. Kids can come up with their greatest waffle creations. We can have whole waffle cars.
That's right.
I love it.
Can't have chicken and waffles without the egg, bro.
Without the egg, bro. Hey, yo, this section of the program brought to you by Bic.
Well, I'm just saying. Waffle need egg. Chicken need egg.
Right. That's true. Yeah.
No waffles and chicken, no egg.
Yeah. So if you want chicken and waffles, come on down.
Come down and get your
egg roll.
Egg roll.
Martha Stewart, take it from the
That's right.
sidelines.
She can tell you various ways to prepare eggs.
Well, she'll tell you about the grass on the lawn. We have here a nice fescue.
Yeah.
It was grown springtime and has been kept by master lawn gardener Tito Valenzuela.
And while you enjoy a nice early morning on the lawn, I recommend you do it with this poached egg that we use these eggs.
It's a good thing.
And it pairs nice with this Colombian coffee.
Back to you, Snoop.
All right, we went too long enough. I gotta get going. I got a long interview to play.
Indeed.
So, I would definitely tune in for that.
For sure on ESPN 8, the Ocho.
That's right. Well, maybe we can get Bateman to be some kind of
bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays.
Have you
off.
seen the State Farm ads of Bateman?
No.
Bateman?
Huh.
Yeah, they're kind of doing a Batman spoof, but it's kind of saying, do you want Batman or do you want Bateman? And then Bateman shows up as Jason Bateman, just not doing.
Go away, Bateman.
Yeah. All right, we're going to replay our interview we had with Hunter Spindle, Deputy DA. He joined us back on the 20th. Had a great conversation with him here in the 5th Judicial District. So we're going to play that here in a minute. But before we do, here's your weather.
I'm meteorologist Steve Hamilton with your Pecos Valley weather. We have a high wind warning in effect today. We have cold front moving through the area. We won't see any rain with that, but the wind will be really gusty today, up to 50 miles an hour. Blowing dust, mostly sunny, and will be in the mid-80s. Overnight, it stays very windy. We'll drop into the low 40s with a few clouds, and then breezy and sunny on Wednesday. It will be quite a bit cooler, highs around 70. That's your latest forecast. I'm meteorologist Steve Hamilton.
Thank you, Steve. Currently 59 degrees here in Roswell. Let me try it, because I tried refreshing and it wasn't giving me the freshest. Let me hit it one more time. Nope, still giving me an hour's thing. So, all right. Currently 59 degrees, allegedly. It's a little warmer than that, but that's the latest update I got. Humidity's at 22%, winds out of the south at 16. We do have a red flag warning and a high wind warning. Those will both take effect at noon today, remaining in effect through 9 p.m. this evening. Expect widespread blowing dust mainly after 3 today. Sunny and 83 with winds out of the southwest, 15 to 25 increasing 25 to 35, gusting as high as 45 miles per hour later today. Tonight, areas of blowing dust till about 9, then mostly clear with an overnight low of 44. Winds remain out of the west, 25 to 35, gusting as high as 45 miles per hour, dropping down 10 to 20 after midnight. Patchy blowing dust for Wednesday afternoon as well, mostly sunny and windy, highs of 69. It's a little cooler on Wednesday. Northwest winds 5 to 10 early, 15 to 20, gusting as high as 30 by Wednesday afternoon. Thursday, sunny and 70, southwest winds 5 to 15. But then Thursday night, we're looking at rain chances, 50% for Thursday night, 70% chance of rain with a high of 57 on Friday, 80% chance of rain on Saturday with a high of 46. So good rain chances here for the back half of the week. All right, it is 8:15. We're going to take by the way, because of the winds and stuff, I saw that Dexter, they're going to be letting kids out early today. That's the only one I've heard and seen. So that they issued that last night, I think, on social media. So, but anyway, just wanted to throw that in. I was just remembered, I need to mention that. So, all right, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and then we're going to play our interview with Hunter Spindle we had back on the 20th. Don't go away.
The Rocky Mountain Elks Foundation salutes hunters in the role they play in providing critical funding for conservation. Celebrate how hunting is conservation at the Rocky Mountain Elks Foundation Annual Banquet, Saturday, April 12th at the Eastern New Mexico State Fairgrounds. The Roswell Banquet will take place on April 12th at 5 p.m. Get your tickets now at rmef.org and go to the New Mexico Events tab. Celebrate hunters at the Rocky Mountain Elks Foundation Roswell Banquet, Saturday, April 12th at the Eastern New Mexico State Fairgrounds.
Some wounds need expert care to heal properly. At Artesia General Hospital's Wound Care and Hyperbaric Medicine Center, we use advanced treatments like hyperbaric oxygen therapy to help chronic wounds heal faster. If you or a loved one has a wound that won't heal, call 575-736-8235 today and take the first step toward recovery.
Do you want to improve the appearance of your smile or increase your self-esteem and confidence? Many people have already chosen to update their smile with veneers. Here at Carabelli Dental in Roswell, we work with our patients to understand their smile goals. With veneer treatment, we can eliminate gaps between teeth, solve the problems of stained teeth, and even perfect uneven or misshaped teeth. You owe it to yourself to have the smile you know is possible. Call us now.
Come see the team at Carabelli Dental or call 575-622-4455.
Mulan has the highest kill count of any Disney character. When asked for comment, Buzz Lightyear responded, "To infinity and beyond." Here's Mike Winters.
Joining us. And good morning. It is 18 minutes after 9 o'clock. And joining us in studio this morning from the 5th Judicial District, Deputy DA Hunter Spindle back with us. Good morning, sir. How you doing today?
Good morning. It's been a while.
It's been a while. Yeah, you've been kind of, I guess, doing your day job and didn't really have a lot of time to kind of do the more fun side of the job. I guess you didn't get to play. You had too much work to do.
Yeah. Well, the last several times we've been scheduled to be here, I've been in a trial. Had a week-long homicide trial pretty much each month.
Yeah.
So that's pretty much been my last couple months.
Just gee whiz curious, and this is why I like talking to the office here, because I rarely get the chance. We get to kind of see, the world from y'all's perspective, and that's and sometimes, especially in today's world, everything's so divisive, and but people forget now. Things impact everybody. Everybody impacts And obviously, with your job as a prosecutor, and you deal with murder trials unfortunately on a regular basis here. And I know we've talked a little bit about how you guys cope as an office, but I mean, do you have to have an ability to turn that switch off when you go home, or I mean, yes, we could say that, but as human beings, that's really impossible. I mean, how do you navigate that? How do you? I mean, or do it's healthy. I take it home and my wife and I, we talk about some of this stuff, and that's my own. I mean, how do you process this stuff?
So, I mean, the term vicarious trauma is very real, and it affects a lot of people. You have to, and I've been affected by it, in certain cases are really hard. You have to be able to try to close it into certain boxes,
Sure.
right? And how you deal with it. So when I first started prosecuting homicides, that was a lot harder for me to do than it is now. So the more you do, I don't want to say you become desensitized to
but
it.
insensitive, but in a case you are.
Right.
It's just if you're, and this is true in any job, if you're exposed to the things that are not really normal human behavior, your body it's no different than food. Like if you eat a certain kind of food, after a while, your body craves it. Things. I'm sure it's no different. You build a callus a little bit.
Right.
And that's what it is. And it's for your own protection as much as it is for everything else.
Right. And part of my job, especially in my position as the chief deputy, I go to most homicide scenes. So when I get a call about
like when it's still while
it's
scene,
still
the
going,
cops are there and doing their investigation
right.
and everything.
And when I took over the office, I've really made it a point that I want boots on the ground, whether that's me personally or one of my deputies or even an investigator. I want boots on the ground so we have a front row seat and firsthand knowledge about what we're looking at prior to the case even coming to us.
Absolutely. And I would also imagine too, now, police officers, they're well trained in evidence gathering and things like that, but they also are looking from a law enforcement perspective. Whereas you come in with a prosecutor's eye,
right?
You may see something that different than they see something. And so I would imagine, obviously doing that in good communication with these officers, it allows for everybody to be more thorough there. Where is like you're saying, because law enforcement, they're here. First, they're trying to keep the peace, making sure everybody's safe and secure. Then they're doing everything they can to gather evidence and whatever DNA, whatever, the gloves or whatever they got to collect to prove a case here. But I'm going to take a stab. There's times where, because what convicts and doesn't convict, you're like saying, no, we need to focus more on this and less on this kind of thing, because this is going to be much more disputed. If we can prove this, it's going to be much more difficult to disprove that. Well,
and that's, and part of my job with going to the scene is to look at that, to try to see, okay, what is a possibility? Is there possible self-defense claim? Is there, how do we know that he's the one who did this or this person did this? And sometimes it's very straightforward, right?
Absolutely.
It's like right in your face. I mean, it's going to be easy to prove. Other times are, a lot more complicated. And then sometimes we can't make it, I can tell you right now, I need all the evidence before I can even make a decision on this.
Sure.
And, and I have, there are several cases that we have that I'm constantly sending back to law enforcement that I'm saying, I can't sign off on this. We're missing this piece. We're missing that piece. It's one of those things that's like you need to go from A to Z, right?
Sure.
But you got to have all the letters in between.
Yeah. Well, and this is, and I'm getting very general with it, but this is going back to, you hear the thing, well, if there's smoke, there's fire.
Right.
Yes, that's true in a lot of cases, but you can't convict on smoke.
No.
You got to convict on the fire.
Right.
And so even if there's a lot of smoke, we can't do a thing about it unless, I know that's kind of very broad, but in essence, that's what you're talking about here is no, it can smell like a duck and quack like a duck and talk like a duck, but until I can confirm it's a duck, it ain't a duck. And that's how we work in the legal world. Even though to the common eye, it's probably a duck. But we got to prove, there is no reasonable doubt here that is a duck.
And that's probably one of the biggest things we deal with as prosecutors is, everyone has emotions about stuff, right?
Sure.
And rightfully so. But we have, the hardest part of our job is to look at it and say, okay, do we have enough evidence first to get past the preliminary hearing for the probable cause stages?
Yeah.
But then once, the evidence is still coming in, can we put this up to a jury ethically and convict beyond reasonable doubt? And, in those cases that are like slam dunk, a lot of times, they're asking for a plea. They're asking for a plea.
Right.
And sometimes a plea may be appropriate.
When they know
Sometimes
their
it may
dead
not,
rights
but-
they're guilty, then they're going to see what they can do.
Well, then, and in certain instances with that, I go, absolutely not. We're going to trial because that I can prove this case. I can get a slam dunk on it.
And I'm going to take a stab that history comes big time into play. That if this is something you've had chronic issues that you haven't, then if
this dude's a problem,
for sure. But if this is a kid that maybe did something really dumb and this is not the norm, maybe we can not ruin this person's life. Every time we make like plea offers and that sort of stuff, we always try. I always, of course, under the Victims' Rights Act, we meet with the victim and I try to explain, what is the strengths, the weaknesses of this case, and about the possibilities of, how a plea versus a trial may go and that sort of thing. And in our court system, some justice is better than no justice sometimes. Right. And unfortunately, some justice is the best we can do because, and to be honest, this is the way it has to be. Because the moment we're wrong about it, because we just assumed, that's when we have problems. And it happens every day. I mean, there's a whole section on Netflix documentaries about cases they found out, oopsie, we made a mistake later and did all this. And that's the reason why we have to do it this way. And like you said, you really have to triage. It's like, look, I can see this. This is probably the person that committed this murder. But I don't have the enough evidence and resources to spend weeks or months on this when at the end of the day, I'm pretty confident that we're not going to convict on this. Maybe we can do something else, whether it's the lesser charge or like you said, and like you said, that's the biggest part, victim, because as a victim, you're, how can we do, but you don't, you're seeing it from an emotional lens as you should and normally would. Unfortunately, lawyers do not have that luxury.
Well, and that, and I like equating what we do to like an emergency room, at a hospital with the triage, right?
You got to be the calm head in the room, in the storm. You got to be the calm head.
I mean, doctors get affected by some of the stuff they see. Nurses do, right? We all deal with that.
They can't do it in the ER.
But they can't do it in the ER.
They do it crying in the room later. Yeah.
Right. And of course, the person that is always mad at the doctor is the person who's sitting there waiting for 12 hours to be seen, right? Because they're like, I've been here for this long. Why aren't you seeing me? But they
don't see all the variables.
But they don't see the variables. We may have that one person whose case is, so much life or death, right? Now, for us, what that means is, the case that is a homicide, a sex offense that's going on right now, where we have to. That is a big time case that we have to focus on.
Sure.
And maybe that may make some people angry because they're like, my case has been going on for 18 months. And it's like, I get it. But
and here's the rub is yes. And I know this, and obviously, Diana and every, I would argue every DA in the state here, they care about crimes. They want convictions. They want to do things, but here's the deal. These are elected officials, as is their bosses. And they have to go to votes. And if there's big cases that's in the media every single day that people are asking questions about and they're not seeing anything being addressed about it, that costs votes. And I know it's not a perfect system. It's not, when it comes to these kinds of things, I'm not always a big fan of partisan politics getting involved in these things.
Yeah.
The law is the law, and it should be interpreted regardless of what party affiliation you have here. But that's not the real world we live in.
No.
And so yes. So you're right. It shouldn't be that way, but this is the world we live in, and we got to play by these rules. Love them or hate them until you want to fix these things. You got to change it in legislature. You got to talk to these folks. You got to, our whole judicial system, and this ain't just New Mexico, this is the United States of America. We need to really assess on some of this stuff. Yes, we got a big mindset of rehab versus punishment and all that, and we can make those debates should be had. There are people that need more rehab than punishment. But that being said, there are people that need punishment.
Right.
And we can't just wash them into rehab when we all know this is beyond rehab.
Right.
These are people with serious issues that need to be dealt with because they are problems in society.
and as part of our jobs, we have to try to assess that, right?
Yeah.
And we have to take in all the information.
Yeah.
Taking it in, and I do like sometimes when we go and do presentations to like Leadership New Mexico, we'll go to that, and I did that with Diana up here in Roswell, and I did it with my direct supervisor, Patrick Melvin, in Carlsbad. The one thing we say a lot about is our job is like herding cats, right? So it's like we're trying to take all these different pieces, make them come together. The problem, though, is a lot of times if we're missing a piece, let's say someone died, someone is all of a sudden we can't find, that sort of thing, that could really mess up a case.
Sure.
It can throw it into a tailspin because of the rule of evidence. And a lot of people don't understand that. They'll get mad at us and they'll be like, well, this was a slam dunk case. I don't understand. And I'm like, look, I get it. And I understand that what I'm telling you is hard to hear.
Sure.
But I'm telling you right now, we will not get this conviction at trial. And what's best for this case is we need to make a plea to this.
Well, and let's face it, defense attorneys are very good at what they do, and their job is to create doubt.
Yep.
And at the end of the day, what you're basically saying is, look, any lawyer worth his salt is going to create so much doubt in here that it's going to be really, really difficult to. Yes, if you take this at face value on the surface, it looks like a red herring. But anyone that's trained in this thing can start picking the holes apart and saying, yeah, but, and I know, and this is the part that frustrates people, but this is how it's got to be, because the devil's in the details every single time. And not every single person on the prosecution side in every single situation is always on the up and up. And 99.9% are, but there's always that one person that, doesn't do it right. They either... and mostly the most common mistake I see in all these documentaries and things, when you have these, and of course every single one of those documentaries have one of these people.
Yeah.
But for every one of these, there's 1,000 other cases that none of that happens, and that's my point. You see the exception, but my point is, the one thing that always seems common is when people that collect and analyze evidence come with a predetermined outcome. If they come in already thinking it's this guy, 9 times out of 10, defense attorneys will pick away that part lawyer and say, well, soon, you already had your person, and you stopped doing this because of this.
Right.
And so that is by far one of the strongest tools in a defense attorney's tool bag. And you guys know this too. And so you look at it and see, it's like, I'm telling you, they're going to shoot this down. This is going to be a futile effort here.
Right.
And so that's where, and I get it from the people on the outside looking in or watching Judge Judy every day and thinking he can wrap this up in 30 minutes or whatever. I get it. It's frustrating, but this is the real world. And guess what? You are innocent until proven guilty in the United States of America.
Not guilty until proven innocent.
No matter what. And you have, and duck, again, talks like a duck, quacks like a duck. Yeah, that's a duck. Not in the eyes of the law until we prove it's a duck.
Right.
And that's what we got to, that's the standard we have to stay with.
And probably 95% of cases are like that, right? Really straightforward.
Sure.
Pretty much this person is seen doing this. You have someone testifying doing that. And I had a trial recently where defense counsel used and it was a homicide, basically an argument saying, well, the state doesn't have this eyewitness, doesn't have this, didn't do that. And my argument in closing as my reply to him was, yeah, I'd love to have all of that. I would love to have 3 or 4 witnesses who watched this murder happen, but that's not reality. It's not reality to have a camera on every corner catching it. That's not reality. It's not reality that, we're going to get fingerprints off of every bullet round, every shell casing. Yeah. It's not reality. That while, yes, that happens and you see it on CSI, as Law and Order, that's not how it actually happens in real life. And I have to explain that a lot of times to juries and make them understand that just because you see it on television is not actually how it plays. It makes for good television, but it doesn't make for reality.
And to be honest, and I'm only mentioning this because they just put a new thing out, and I watched it, and I was very intrigued by it. And of course, this is something on Netflix right now. They basically did another OJ documentary, and but this one is really from the perspective of Mark Furman. Darden, the deputy DA, the Marsha Clark's basically co-counsel on most of that case, and basically some of the people that kind of turned black sheep after all was said and done. On Darden with the glove stuff, the racist stuff with Furman and all that. But it's like a 4-part thing, but it's really the things you're talking about here. Because I'm going to take a stab that very few prosecutions had the amount of DNA evidence collected for a case ever in that thing, and there was so much good DNA collected, but the defense, arguably probably the best in the country at the time, they picked it apart. They were able to do, and that's what happens. Now, granted, most people don't have the dream team OJ did doing that kind of work, but this it really at the core it shows what is going on here, and of course we all look 30 years later, and I think 99% of us think, "Oh, that OJ did do it," I mean, but when you see how the evidence, but this one also shows evidence that was collected but wasn't admissible because of some various, and to be honest, it was very damning evidence, and some of it was chosen. Like there was like a lady that witnessed OJ getting in the Bronco and all this, like right before all that stuff, and the prosecution was going to ready to sign up, but somehow she went and sold her story before she got testified, and prosecution said, well, that just tainted that one.
It does.
But at the end of the day, her testimony probably, that would have been hard for the dream team to chew that one up. But this is what I'm talking about, or what you're talking about in this case of stuff. And so I say, I get it. There's so many of those documentaries, and as a guy who lived through it and seen it, you're tired of all of that stuff. But that one was actually, I was like, there's some new stuff in this that I didn't think about.
Yeah.
So, and it really speaks to a lot of what you're talking about as a prosecutor, what you can convict and what you can, because, at the end of the day, like Darden, the way he talks, and like, this man is so passionate about his job. And at the end of the day, he basically got rope-a-doped by the prosecutor or by the defense here.
And what's interesting is, a lot of people, like for sex cases, for instance, think that there's always DNA, and they don't want to convict unless there's some sort of DNA. There's got to be semen, got to be this, got to be that, and it's like, don't get me wrong, I watch Law and Order SVU with my wife, we enjoy it, but they always find DNA, in the most obscure places. And it comes back in one day. That doesn't happen. If we get DNA back, it's 9 months later,
if you're lucky.
But that's if we get it back.
Sure.
That's if we get anything. And what it doesn't say this is a match.
Sure.
It says 1 in however many millionths or 1 in so many trillionths of a percentage. Now, the lower that percentage, right, the more likely than not that it is. So, but if you get something back that says cannot be excluded, that's great. But if you get one back that says, no, well, then you're like, ooh.
The moral of that story is, if you have a rare blood type, don't go committing the crimes with DNA, because you're going to get spotted a lot easier than the people with the A's, A positive, whatever the most common ones are.
Yeah.
Just saying.
Not like me, O negative.
If Vitalent's always asking because you got a rare blood type to donate, you shouldn't be committing violent crimes.
Yeah,
you will get caught.
Yeah. What do they call me? Mine's one of the rare ones. O negative is the universal donor or whatever.
Yeah, one of them is like you can receive anybody's. The other one's like you can give to everybody.
I can give to everyone. I can only take from O negative. I think is what it is for me. It's just it's funny, but
you're right, and you're absolutely correct. Is DNA and all these things are very, very valuable tools, and yes, can convict, but they're not be-all, end-alls. They're not the aha clues people think they are. They aren't the thing that wraps up your hour-long episode of Law and Order or whatever it is you're watching, or Elsbeth now if you've been watching some of those cases.
I haven't watched that,
that's more of a police
okay.
side. It's more of that. It's not convict, but it's she's much like your Sherlock Holmes rolled in with very observant, and everyone points out that very popular, and there's several of these shows that there's the one person that's not really a normal detective. There's some other thing, but they're just observant people and can, or have eidetic memories or something like that.
Yeah.
You don't have any of those in your office, do you?
No. I wish.
I thought every prosecution office had one super sleuth that knew everything. It could solve a case in an hour.
No, I wish. I mean, sometimes I have a little bit of a photographic memory, so I can remember certain
but then I forget
certain phrases
Sure.
and like passages somewhere, and I can kind of remember a line, and I can go find, like I can try to remember on a page or something. But that's about as good as that gets.
Yeah.
And
well, if you put it like a comedy or movie, I'll remember that.
Yeah,
But if it's like an
right.
important document, it's lights out. I'll never remember that. But.
Yeah, it's interesting.
But that's the thing, and this is why I love having these conversations with your office every month. You know, whether it's Justin or Gina or one of the DAs
Yeah.
are talking actual. I love because that office is it's so easy to put up your opinions and walls on things because of we live in this world that it's like if it's something you don't like, then it's the devil and it's evil and it's anti everything. I mean, you're a Nazi, you're this or whatever term that makes people feel vindicated on whatever they're saying. And unfortunately, none of that's true. Everything is the prosecution. They're here to help victims. They're here to get justice for victims. Unfortunately, the way the system works, there's tools they can use. There's tools they can't use. And I know it's hard to fathom, and I know especially if you're a victim or a family of a victim, and it's violent stuff. Yes. I get it. I'm the same way. I'm like, let's burn it to the ground. I'm tired of everything. Yeah. I get it. Trust me, I understand. But we can't have that in a society that if we all want to coexist and live and live without killing each other, we can't do that kind of thing. We have to respect the law, even when the law isn't working in our favor.
And I'll tell people all the time, I may not agree with certain parts of the law. I don't, I think our sentences need to be longer. New Mexico is very easy compared to a lot of other states around.
Sure.
When it comes to criminal sentencing. And some people don't like to hear that, but it's the truth, right? Sure. It far less, like the length of sentences is far less. I wish I could control that. Sure. I can't, though. But a lot of people are like, "Oh, well."
But that to me, that speaks to the bigger problem of we're not investing our money correctly in the justice system.
Right.
Whether I don't know,
or the legislature more than anything.
But what I mean is, whatever it is we're doing ain't working. And unfortunately, depending on who you talk to, they're like, build more prisons, and I don't think that's the answer. We need more judges. Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
We need more prosecutors.
Definitely
we need more
that.
of all these. We need more of all of those things, but we cannot agree. And this is the thing: we can't just throw money at it without coming up with solutions. And, this is like the DA dog program that Diana's kind of started in this office. To me, that's the kind of stuff we need to be investing in and talking about, because these are getting real results in helping the caseload and getting prosecutions and things like. We need to be thinking of these kind of ideas, not just in DA's office or prosecuting offices and everything else. We need to be thinking about this in the penal system. In the okay, our current prison model doesn't seem to be working right.
Right.
How do we fix that so we punish those that need to be punished, but the people that maybe shouldn't be there aren't there?
and that's
where I think the bigger fix needs to happen.
And that's something we always try to take into consideration for every plea deal, every sort of case we have, is that we many times, especially with victim cases, we meet people at the most traumatic or worst thing that could have happened in their life. Either they're victimized, or someone they know has been victimized,
Sure.
A family member, that sort of thing. And so we have to be very considerate of that, but also take into consideration not just their rights, but the defendant's rights.
Right.
The evidence of the case. That is very paramount in what we do.
Absolutely.
When I swear my oath to protect the Constitution of the state of New Mexico and the United States, that's not just for the victim,
Sure.
for police. That's for the defendant as well.
Sure.
That is, as part of my job, is to make sure police are doing their job.
Sure.
That's part of my job, to make sure that everything is done correctly. And that's why justice can look like very different things.
Sure.
And taking that into consideration, you brought up the DA Dogs program. That's also like a program that I myself designed that we are just now starting. Now it's a form of pre-prosecution diversion.
Okay.
We're starting it. It's called non-organized shoplifting diversion.
Gotcha.
So
this covers like the dumb teenager that stole a candy bar at the 7-Eleven.
But it goes to exactly what you were talking about, right? Like, we don't need a whole bunch of people going to jail for this stuff, that sort of thing.
So the end of the day is just dumb stuff that we all, get basically threaten the book. We learn the lesson, and then we move on, and they go on to live productive lives.
So the change in the law, I think, what was it, 2023, when they did the retail theft, organized retail crime, and
which
that sort
was
of stuff.
needed because we had no way, because what was happening, and they're going in and pop shot little stuff, not enough to get the big thing. But now they said, you know what? We're going to start keeping a tab on all the little stuff until it turns to a big thing.
Right.
And now and that's a good thing. But unfortunately, I'm going to guess now we've got to fine tune that law a little bit.
So with that, because of that, as part of the agreement, our office, we used to not prosecute petty misdemeanors and misdemeanor shopliftings, right? So that was all dealt with by officer prosecution, or it was dealt with in muni court. Well, now that's been taken over by our office. So our office that was originally doing 350 to 400 misdemeanors at a time, that's active cases, is now much more in the 450 to 550 range.
Because what you guys needed was more caseloads.
Right. Right. So, at one point in magistrate courts, what we were prosecuting mainly were just DUIs and battery on household members, primarily.
Sure.
The overall vast majority of cases were those. And then all of a sudden, the new change in law came. We took over doing shoplifting. And now shoplifting is the third most prosecuted crime that we have. But what most people don't realize is the age range for that is typically between 18 and 30.
Gotcha.
Now, that is the overall vast majority. That's not to say we don't have 30 to 50. But the other range that you see is your older people who maybe are stealing because they have to, or stealing because whatever else.
Life's handed them a deck of cards,
right?
And they're dealing with it.
We don't really see it as nearly as much in the 30 to 50 range, but you do see it in the 50 plus range. But a lot of these people that are committing these offenses don't have really anything else. Or they have just misdemeanor offenses otherwise. So I went to Diana and Patrick, my direct supervisor, and went, look, we have a problem. We need to fix something. We have all these shoplifting cases that we have the evidence there to convict, but I don't have the manpower to
physically work these
cases to the point where they're going to trial. And a lot of and rightfully so, defense attorneys can do that. They don't want to take the shopliftings, just they don't want to plea it out, that sort of thing.
Sure. It's serious enough where they should receive some form of retribution for this.
Well,
maybe not throw the book at them.
Right. And a lot of time, it's considered a crime of moral turpitude, so that can be negative for their work. It can be, whatever, because it's, theft, fraud, that sort of thing.
Yeah, because now it's questioning your character. Other aspects of your life may not want you around anymore.
Right. Yeah. So that, we have to take that into consideration. And, a lot of these people, like I said, especially in that 18 to 30 range, that may be all they have. Maybe they have a DUI on their record. Maybe they have some other misdemeanor offense. But taking it into consideration, it's like, okay, we're prosecuting shopliftings for a $5 soda that they stole.
Right.
$20 worth of merchandise, food, that sort of thing. What can we do to make this better?
Sure.
So I went to them and I presented an idea, and I said, we have pre-prosecution diversion for, the violence prevention program, which is for battery on a household member.
Right.
We have the pre-prosecution diversion at the felony level for, first offense felonies, that sort of thing, that are more theft-based, that aren't violent, that sort of thing. How can we do a program at the misdemeanor and petty misdemeanor level that are going to address some of these needs? And I presented it to him, kind of thinking back of when I was a defense attorney myself. And I said, when I was a defense attorney, I had shoplifting cases, whatever. I used to go and present to the prosecutor. I'd always have my clients take an anti-theft course, like a 6-hour, 8-hour course.
Kind
and
of like when you get
that.
too many tickets, you got to take your defensive driving course, something like that, but for petty, shoplifting.
And then I'd have them do community service, and I'd have it signed off, and I'd bring it, and I'd be like, here, that my client did this, he did this. What can we do about this? Can we get this case dismissed? If we just pay restitution, can we do this? Can we
even the community service side, I think that's the key. Like especially if they're like teenagers.
Right.
I'd guess what? You're going to go work at that store you sold the candy bar at, and you're going to go do some mopping. You're going to do some sweeping, do some stock shelving.
So the program,
love that.
The program that I designed with edits from my supervisors is 6 months to a year, in which it's a diversion program, and it's going to now be the standing offer on all first and second offense, petty and misdemeanor shopliftings. So if you have 3 or more, can't do it. If it aggregates to a felony, can't do it. If you have a felony prior, you can't do it. But that sort of thing is going to be it.
If you're
and
already
under
chronic, then you're going to get
right.
But
but these are people that have first offenses.
But if we can prevent you from being chronic, maybe that's the key.
Right. Exactly. And as part of the program, they have to take an anti-theft course. They have to do community service. They have to pay restitution. And
really teach them the impact of what their actions did. You know, it's like, look, it seems petty to you here, but here's the chain of events that follow by you stealing that.
Right. And so long as they do all of that and meet the criteria and do it within that certain amount of time, their case is going to get dismissed in the magistrate
court. And that's
court.
the kind of stuff we do need to going on. And because this is the problem, and this is why, people aren't sitting in jail very long and all this, because we're dealing with so much of that the person that's really, really needs to be in jail, they're slipping through the cracks here because, it's very rare for someone to go to jail and not be out of there within 48 hours. That's the norm.
The norm,
even for violent offenders.
Yep.
And that's the problem. We got to fix that. And unfortunately, and this is what it sounds like, because of the dealings because of that, we're so clogged up with that the people that really need to be behind bars, that really need to be prosecuted, really we're not getting the attention on them they deserve right now. So how can we shift our focus where we're not, trivializing what is lesser stuff here?
Yeah.
We want to stress that, yes, no, it's bad that you did this, and we need to make you aware of that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we're not, throwing the book at these people while the murderers and everyone else just keep doing what they're doing. And that's what we're setting the table right now. And this is why I kind of was mentioned earlier. This is more than just what prosecutors, and this has to be about what we do with once a judge says you're going to jail, what are we doing with them? And that's the side we need to fix. It's because the judges aren't going to put these sentences out there if they know in reality they're not going to be sitting there, because they see everything that comes. So judges really are handcuffed on their sentences because we don't have the means to do what really needs to be done for these individuals or to these individuals.
Oh, and the one thing I can always say is that, like, our office, we're always trying to find solutions, right? I mean, and so we always, it doesn't mean every idea kind of we can run with it.
Sure.
We may be
some don't stick on the dartboard.
well, and not only that, sometimes we don't have the authority under the law, right?
Sure.
It's like we can think about it, and it's like, well, can we do this?
But then there's something in the Constitution that's
or the statute
why we don't
or
do
something.
It
It's like,
way.
nope, we don't have the authority, right?
Yeah.
And so that's when we were able to do this, and I presented it. Diana's like, "Yep, go with it, run with it." She, she's like, "Thanks for volunteering." It's on you, and
that's the politician.
And I'm like, okay, not that I don't have anything else I'm going on. Prosecuting homicides, got a caseload of 300.
Politician class. That's the first thing you teach them.
Yep, design it, send it to me, and I'll review it. And it's like, I'm like, all right, and her name's on it.
I'm pretty sure that's also 101 in your leadership. I'm sure they're teaching that in IMI too. But anyway. I just saw the time. We're running a little short on it here, but just to kind of put a little bit bow on this, this conversation we're having here. Really, this is the thing. At the end of the day, trust me, your prosecutors and everyone in the DA's office, they are feeling and understanding everything that that you probably have a beef about or just something you're upset about because you guys are experiencing the exact same thing. Yeah, and I'm going to say what handcuffs you deal with, you as the individual, you guys in your office are dealing tenfold. That's not just something you deal sometimes. That's just the nature of the beast. Every single day. And this is, but again, part of this has to be this way because it is. You've got to remember that at the end of the day, these are all innocent people until a jury of their peers says otherwise. And you can, and I know you cannot, but that's where we as humans have to evolve and mature and to understand that to be in a lawful society, you have to live lawfully, even when it don't feel the best, feel like the right thing to do.
Yeah.
It's I understand vigilante justice is a tool that we all spend weekends watching Marvel movies all about this stuff. I get it, all of that. But that's the difference. It's a movie. It's in real life, in society, you can't just go guns blazing because it feels like the right thing to do, or we'll make a good movie story.
Yeah.
It's because unfortunately, there are so many cases of people sitting in jail that were righteous, but went over the line because they did something they couldn't walk back from. It's those stories of a family member being abused or something, and they take justice in their own hands. I know it feels good, and it makes a great documentary, but it's illegal. It's against the law.
Yep.
They will be prosecuted for that.
Yep.
And that's the sad part. Because we don't want that. That's a good person who just emotionally flipped because they saw something that was just too much for them to handle.
And I mean, I've had a couple different times where I've literally had to tell people in my office, I was like, I'm going to act like I didn't hear that.
Yeah.
Because but I can suggest that you do nothing.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to have to be prosecuting you.
Yeah, you're about to say,
so it's
sometimes you have to be their defense attorney.
Well, and it's like, that's the most I can say to you right now.
Yeah.
And victim, especially victim cases,
Sure.
it's like everyone wants to hang them, on the front lawn of the courthouse. But it's
I get
like,
it. I'm that guy. I'm the boss yelling too. Get off my lawn! But
those conversations are the hardest.
Yeah, but in reality, nothing good comes from that.
Right.
Nothing. For the immediate tenth of a second of whatever gratification you got from doing it, it's all going to be followed by 10 times worse of what you did. Because guess what? And I know this sounds bad, but if you're killing people because they killed your people, you still have to sleep with that at the end of the day. And it may feel good right now, but down the road, and I'm going to tell you right now, you talk to murderers, and you look at the years down the road, they're reflecting on those things that they did. And, especially as life becomes more in the rearview mirror longer than the front of the mirror, in the front of you, you start thinking a certain way. And this is why I'm saying, think. I know it's hard. I know but it's never the right solution to do that. And that's what you got to remember.
And the one part I say to people, and I'm not trying to go religious or anything, but part of the Bible that says, an eye for an eye leaves the whole world blind. I mean, that's very, very much how I go about it.
Absolutely.
It's like, look, I understand that, part of it says if he steals from you, chop his hand off. But it's like, that's not how things work.
Scorched earth may felt good at the time, but guess what? What you're left with?
Right.
Scorched earth.
Right.
And no one wants that. So. Hunter, is there anything we missed that you definitely? I know a lot of stuff we just talked philosophical, but is there anything you definitely wanted to talk about today that we got sidebarred on?
No. Cool. I think we covered it. I know. I just wanted to mention about the non-organized shoplifting diversion that we came up with, just to so people what's on the radar.
Can they talk to legislators about this, or just if they can do more to get it outside of this? Is this more internal office stuff?
If they want to try to have something where that can be dealt with, statutorily wise, they certainly can. But that's just our office for the district.
Sure, but again, if you guys see good results. It's like the DA dogs. Then let's spread it from rooftop to rooftop, and every DA's office in the country should be doing this if it works.
And I hope it cuts down on recidivism. People getting multiple shoplifting offenses, and it keeps people out of jail and addressing an issue. That's
Lives
my hope, as well as reducing the caseload on top of it,
and not ruining life over something that's
exactly
really stupid at the end of the day.
Well, make it so they don't have misdemeanor or petty misdemeanor offenses on their record.
That's
really,
the sad part is, some of these dumb things they carry you the rest of your life.
Yep.
And it's people get kicked out of the military and get dishonorable discharges for some of the dumbest things. And when they gotta carry that badge around with them the rest of their lives, it's really hard to be successful. And it's no different when you got a felony record over some dumbness.
Right.
Thank you, Hunter, as always.
Thank you, Mike.
We'll see you maybe a little bit sooner in between. Maybe not
Hopefully.
a year or two in between visits here.
Well, I don't think it was a year, but I think it was definitely 6 months.
Yeah, at least here. So thank you, sir.
All right, thanks, Mike.
And appreciate you and everybody in your office what you're doing, and even on those days that feels like there's no thanks for the job, we do appreciate it. So.
I appreciate it.
Thank you. All right, it's 10 o'clock. We got to shut our hole because if I cut in other people's shows, they get mad at me. So you're listening to
on the all-new 106.5 FM, KEND Roswell.
News this hour from townhall.com. I'm Rich Thomason. It's Election Day, special elections today in a couple of states. Florida voters deciding 2 congressional races. The 1st district seat that was held by Republican Matt Gaetz is up for grabs. In the 6th congressional district, voters will fill the seat left vacant when Republican Michael Waltz took the job of National Security Advisor. In Wisconsin, a lot of money is poured into a state Supreme Court contest. The race has national implications. It could determine the fate of the Trump agenda. Republican Brad Schimmel and Democrat Susan Crawford vying for an open seat on Wisconsin's highest court. This week, the Senate taking a closer look at judicial activism.
Universal injunctions have been in the news after several were issued against President Trump's executive orders, most recently against the deportation of Venezuelan gang members in the U.S. illegally. A hearing is set to take place before the Senate Judiciary Committee on Wednesday. Chairman Chuck Grassley says new laws will probably need to be passed to limit the use of injunctions. He says the changes should include limiting a judge's ruling to the issue before the court and for the parties involved, and only for a limited time. As he puts it, judges are to decide cases and not to be policymakers. Bob Agnew reporting.
Another element of the Trump agenda moves ahead tomorrow.
The president will be announcing a tariff plan that will roll back the unfair trade practices that have been ripping off our country for decades. He's doing this in the best interest of the American worker.
White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. Nearly 24 states are taking the Trump administration to court over its decision to rescind billions of dollars in health funding. Job openings slipped to 7.6 million last month. Analysts say that points to a healthy but slowing job market in the U.S. On Wall Street this morning, stocks in the red. The Dow is down 432 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 866-755-5300. That's 866-755-5300. Again, that's 866-755-5300. Call us right now.
3 American soldiers, they had been missing in Lithuania, have been found dead.
3 are gone, and 1 is missing.
President Trump telling reporters he's been informed 3 soldiers missing in Lithuania since last week have been found dead in an armored vehicle.
Really heavy, that lifted the heaviest equipment, and it would seem that the bank of the lake collapsed. You know, the weight is so big, and it was at night, and it was very cold weather, ice, a lot of ice.
The conditions when we got out here on site were not like anything that we've ever had to dive through before.
Navy Lieutenant Eric Costello, part of the underwater team.
The amount of mud, diving in a peat bog, just complete zero viz, hard to move kind of diving.
As the president said, a 4th remains missing. The soldiers were on a tactical training exercise. I'm Ben Thomas.
News and analysis at townhall.com. The Bronx Bombers taking their home run hitting ways to the next level with some help from science. Correspondent Gethin Coolbaugh explains.
New torpedo bats drew attention when the Yankees hit a team record 9 homers that traveled a combined 3,695 feet, using a strikingly different model in which wood is moved lower down the barrel after the label and shapes the end similar to a bowling pin. Aaron Judge hit 3 of his team's homers in Saturday's 20-9 blowout win over the Brewers.
Just a lot of good at-bats. Guys staying aggressive.
The bats are allowed under Major League Baseball rules. Paul Goldschmidt, Cody Bellinger, Austin Wells, Anthony Volpe, and Jazz Chisholm Jr. also homered. New York added 4 more homers Sunday in a 12-3 win to complete the sweep. I'm Gethin Coolbaugh.
Wall Street seems to be making a comeback at the moment. Now the NASDAQ is up 82 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
What in the wide, wide world of sports is going on here?
I promise you, whatever scum did this, not one man in this force will rest for 1 minute until he's behind bars. Now let's grab a bite to eat. Yeah, come on.
I feel the hot wind on my shoulder and the touch of a world that is older. I hit the switch and check the number. I leave it on and then I slumber. I hear the rhythm ringing through it. Flamenco guitar and cumbia music. I hear the talking of the DJ. The demolition, what does he say? I'm on a Mexican radio. I'm on a Mexican radio.
Broadcasting live from high atop the J.P. White Building in downtown Roswell, New Mexico. It's Mornings with Mike Winters on 106.5 Roswell's Talk FM.
Is that what I sound like when I talk?
Now, here's your host, Mike Winters.
And good morning. It is 6 minutes after 9 o'clock. Welcome to hour number 3.
Trace Inviernos
of Mornings with Mike Winters, right here on 106.5 Roswell's Talk FM. Happy Tuesday.
Welcome to it, the twist of all the days. The second day of the rest of your life.
Enjoy the light winds now, because they will change here in a couple hours.
Yes, so. The winds of change are coming. Head on down to Gorky Park.
You know, I always heard that, and that song.
Uh-huh.
And Gorky Park is I think it's a park in Russia.
In either Russia or
Soviet Union.
Yeah, Soviet Union.
Somewhere Soviet. Anyway, I remember in the late 80s there was, and this is kind of before, not late 80s. It was, maybe, I'm trying to think when it was. But anyway, it was right around when the wall come down and kind of, Russia's, the Iron Curtain's kind of fallen there in Russia. It was right previously to that.
Moscow, Russia is where Gorky Park is.
Okay. Well, I remember MTV debuted a video.
Okay.
And it was a Russian band called Gorky Park.
Okay.
Hence the name.
Yeah.
And they had a song called Bang that I think kind of was a hit. It got some run on MTV.
I feel like I remember this song too.
Yeah. Bang! Da-da-da-da-da!
Yeah.
Tell me yes, and let's be the fire. Bang, bang! Da-da-da-da!
I do remember that song.
Bang! Yeah, it's actually kind of kicks for the 80s.
All right, YouTube, let's put you to work here.
But I'm kind of curious when you said that. Whatever, is Gorky Park, are those guys working in grocery stores in Russia now?
I got to imagine, yeah, they're at the Russian equivalent of McDonald's.
Are they in America? Did they come here and did you find the song?
Yeah, trying to skip forward.
Whoa! Oh, the beginning.
Of course, Sickle and Iron.
Oh yeah, bringing back some memories.
There you go.
Maybe that's. Oh, you should get to where he sings, because he sings. Wait, to like when the singer sings, not the chorus though.
That's the part I remember. I think it was in like a video game or something.
They played on MTV. I could not name another Gorky Park song.
You know what? I think I played this on Flashback back in the day on
Did you?
On Mix.
Oh yeah?
I feel like that's where maybe I heard it. Hey, Mike's a bigger Gorky Park fan than he realized.
I heard this song a lot.
Bang! Now this is going to be in my head all day long.
It's kind of catchy.
All right, so let's see where Gorky Park is nowadays.
I now really want to. I kind of hope they're still together doing it.
I forgot how much I actually knew that song, and yeah, that gave me.
It would be kind of funny if they're still like at Russian casinos,
right,
doing that song.
We're at the Moscow Mausoleum.
The Borscht buffet will be closing at 9. But vodka will stay open until 11.
I used to do an 80s rock metal show on Mix 106 called Flashback every weekend, and I swear that's where I remember them.
It could be. I
Gorky Park, the Russian hard rock band, has been inactive since 2001. This is scary how they word this.
Inactive?
Well, how they word this. There is no evidence of them being active in 2025.
Ooh, that sounds like
that's worded very.
They just disappeared.
Right, they got disappeared. Yeah.
KGB took care of them. Business. What's going on?
Don't you worry about Gorky Park. Let us worry about Gorky Park.
There's no more bang.
There never was bang.
They stay out to heaven.
What they claim was bang, it was whimper.
That's right. No bang. They're in Gorky Park is in Gorky Park, about 6 feet on.
Is everybody's Russian impression just from Rocky?
Pretty
if
much.
he dies, he dies.
That's what we got.
Right?
Everyone our age anyway. Yeah. Well, I'll be.
There you go.
Yeah, that did not. I don't feel satisfied from that answer. Inactive.
Yeah, that just evidence of them.
Evidence.
That's where we found a finger from the basis.
That's right. It does seem.
Okay, how about this? How about I pivot and I give you a satisfying answer to a question you had?
Do I need a Save Gorky Park shirt?
I think you might.
I might need to get one.
Or just answer the question, where is Gorky Park?
Where is Gorky Park? And people are like, I know it's in Russia. I'm talking about the band.
You know what? Gorky Park is probably hanging out at the same place as Shelly Miscavige.
You know what? We started this conversation, where is Gorky Park? And now we're still ending it with, where is Gorky Park?
It works in so many ways.
Deep.
Hashtag deep. Just as kind of a bit of a pivot, yesterday the question was posed.
Mm-hmm.
The peanut butter and jelly Reese's Big Cups.
Yes.
Do they come in a strawberry variety?
Is that a yes?
That is a confirmed affirmative. I saw that. I didn't get them today because I'm like 2 days in a row. I feel like that's pushing the bounds of
diabetes.
diabetes.
And we need to retry the grapes.
Maybe, yeah, I think we need to have...
Because like you said earlier, the second cup had more jelly to peanut butter ratio.
I think that the problem was it has a jelly-heavy pocket.
Yeah.
Which we all really hope for in life.
Right.
That's all I'm really after is a jelly-heavy pocket.
I walk around with a jelly-heavy pocket.
Every time I go to a diner, don't think I don't leave without a jelly-heavy pocket.
That's right.
That's just how I roll.
Jelly roll ain't got nothing on me. Jelly pocket.
Careful around my sides. I burst.
Jelly pocket.
That's why I never wear my white linen pants to the cafes. But yeah, no, it is. I think it's just heavy on jelly on one side. So I do want to try the strawberry though, because I know that grape is more traditional in a peanut butter and jelly sense.
I'm a grape guy.
I prefer strawberry.
I am a grape guy. I'm always on team grape. However, God bless the strawberry people.
Given my druthers, you're never going to see this inside of a Reese's cup.
You know,
orange marmalade.
What about apple butter?
Oh my God. Peanut butter and apple butter Reese's. I swear, Hershey's, if you're not on this right now,
I'm saying that's a possibility.
That should happen. That needs to happen. That actually made my my salivaries tingle.
It's a good, and I feel like the consistency will be strong there because apple butter's it's got a different consistency. Jelly.
It's more of a grainy,
yeah.
But it runs like applesauce, but it spreads
honest,
like a jam.
That's my thing with strawberry jam.
Yeah,
I don't like the little
seeds.
Yeah,
I like that.
It
gives it a little kind of consistency.
Yeah, I do, and I'm not a strawberry guy. It's just I'm not. So sorry, but God bless everyone that does it. It's just not my thing. So
that's understandable. Just not your thing. But yeah, thing. Weirdly, I got hooked on orange marmalade for a good portion of my.
My
20s.
wife has a hankering for marmalade every once in a while.
Yeah,
I'm hard in the grape, or I usually stay in the berry. I don't mess with strawberry, but if you give me a blackberry or a blueberry, I'm down with that. Apple butter, I'm down with that. But yeah, orange marmalade, it's.
I like when you can come across fruit, like when farmers become fruit scientists and they today we're going to marry a plum and an apricot. I give you the pluot. Somebody one time brought me pluot jelly, and I'm like, what is a pluot? They're like, it's the marriage of a plum and an apricot. I'm like, first of all, you weird things word things weirdly. But yeah, it's delicious. I'm not gonna lie, but the farmers just become weird genetic like mad scientists.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you can get just like a mixed berry, right? Grape, like a grape strawberry fusion.
Do we need to talk about Smith's All Fruit? Yes,
yeah.
from the 80s. You don't remember that?
I do remember those. Yeah.
Pass me the jelly.
Yeah, I do remember that.
Smith's All Fruit.
That was around the Poupon years.
Yeah, it was.
Years,
it was right around the time we were all getting shocked at people's less than ideal food choices.
Yeah, that's when things. That's when we flavors of things other than like yellow mustard, fancy ketchup, grape jelly. Strawberry jelly.
Salsa from New York City.
Yeah.
Get a rope.
Yeah. It's kind of weird. Yeah, thinking about it now, it's like how much food is, I don't know, arguing for the better or not, no. But I mean, just like availability of things. That, like when we were kids, because I grew up pre-microwave.
Right.
Like I was born where microwaves were not common in people's houses.
Okay, this is something that the serfs would tell each other back in the day. It's like we're afforded luxuries that hundreds of years ago only the richest and most powerful people would have access to.
Yeah.
That's kind of true today.
Yeah.
Think about the average American that owns an air fryer. You basically own the equipment that you need that is necessary to manufacture the same food you can get at most restaurants. Or like 100 years ago that wasn't even available to like kings and palaces, like all the fanciest lobsters and stuff. That stuff 100 years ago, nobody had that. Or the rich and famous had that, but now we have that.
Popcorn.
Another great example, yeah.
Like if you were kind of rich, you had a popcorn popper. Most of us just buying that Jiffy Pop, heating that pan up over the stove,
right,
and hoping not to burn it. And then the microwave, I'm going to say, I feel like it was mid 80s before a microwave showed up at my parents' house.
Yeah.
It was never my grandparents growing up. And I know when we lived I think we moved down to Waldorf, which was post 1980.
Okay.
Before we were seeing a microwave.
We definitely had one in the 80s. I mean, I was born in 84, so most of my early childhood was in the late 80s, but we definitely had one by the time I was at least 4 or 5.
Yeah, I remember it was a big deal when we got one because I remember microwaving an egg for the first time and just ooh, this is not good.
Yeah, this is not the wave of the future.
And there wasn't a grocery store section with microwavable stuff. It was still just groceries. Frozen dinners were all, if there was any, they were for the oven.
Yeah, you pop
and
in
they're
the
full
oven,
of foil, and they didn't work in a microwave. Then one day someone said, "Hey, we should create microwave versions." And then the rest is history.
Right.
But
I was talking about this with my son the other day. It was fascinating that they're going over this in kindergarten, but they were talking about Christopher Columbus and discovering India to discover spices. Well, my son knows about the Tamil Kings, which is the three ruling nations that discovered spices for the first time and basically said, who wants these? And created the spice trade, essentially. He learned this from a YouTube video. But we were talking of the Tamil Kings, and it's like, if you think about it, before all this, anything you ate, a beast that you killed, it just tasted like the beast that you killed. Nobody even had table salt. The fact that we, take for granted something as simple as like, garlic salt or something like that.
Sure.
That's a revolution of the future.
Well, and I'm going to say it evolved. Like maybe, home things, home deals, people like, oh, and they literally their herbs and spices were picked off whatever was locally available to them.
Oh, sure. There were local.
But as far as getting it to the world and all of that kind of things and introducing it, that's those early phases. And to be honest, that's the start of the melding of cuisines and everything else. Now that granted, we've jumped that thing in the last 30 years, 1,000% over the years before, just because of the internet and things like that. But just getting spices that were foreign to other parts of the world, and it's kind of. But I'm going to take a stab that, around home, around things, humans learn things and do things, and it's like, hey, here's some mint leaves over here. That'd be good with my tea or whatever it is, or if I incorporate. I bet people cook meats and things and had literally leaves and trees and
Oh, sure, yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
They have your local
artisan
and stuff.
Yeah, they call artisan today, but actual au natural out in the wild kind of thing. Foraging for it.
It's like even in our recent history, my mom had to have shipped green chilies from New Mexico. Now she could just go in green chili season, just go to her local homeland, and they have them there.
Well,
so it's just
you can get canned chilies. They
have fresh, like
right.
They ship
but
them there.
If one wants green chili in the United States, pretty much every grocery store in America has cans of them.
We're afforded an exhaustion of riches, if you will.
Even though, because I went back to Maryland, like, oh yeah, so you can get them in the grocery store here. They're right there in the El Paso section here. Granted, it's not what we're used to. It's kind of like lobster.
Right.
Yeah, you can get lobster here, but it ain't the lobster you get up in Maine or whatever. You get some lobster bites from Red Lobster or whatever that may or may contain lobster.
That concludes this week's edition of Ghetto History. Thanks for tuning in.
That's right. Let me give you the lay rundown for this hour of the show. We'll get you up to date with the weather here in just a bit. Spoiler alert. Not all good.
All the seasons, though.
That's right, but you get it all. So there's some good in there.
Say da 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 da. It's going to be in there all day.
Yeah. And any word on Gorky Park, please report to authorities, because we don't know.
If anybody sees like a finger
that's
or
right.
a toenail, let us know.
We need him back. We need him back safe. But anyway, then we'll get you updated the weather and all that. And here in just a little bit, we're going to replay our interview. Josh McDonald with the Rocky Mountain Elks Foundation joined us back on St. Patrick's Day. Not related. It just happened to be on St. Patrick's Day. And so they've got their Roswell banquet for the Elks Foundation, the hunting and conservation group. And they're going to be doing their banquet here in Roswell on April 12th. So we wanted to play this for you, remind folks, invite folks to come on out to their banquet, learn more about the Elks Foundation, and help raise money for them, too. So, but Josh, we had a great conversation talking about the organization. We'll play it here in a bit. We'll get you up to date with news of the local variety and all that here later on this hour as well, and whatever else we can come up with for this hour of the show. But first, a look at your weather.
Weather this hour brought to you by Southwest Bearing under new ownership. Custom solutions for your heavy equipment. Hydraulic hoses, hose repair, bearings, seals, sprockets, belts, tools, fluids, and fittings.
I'm meteorologist Steve Hamilton with your Pecos Valley weather. We have a high wind warning in effect today. We have cold front moving through the area. We won't see any rain with that, but the wind will be really gusty today, up to 50 miles an hour. Blowing dust, mostly sunny, and will be in the mid-80s. Overnight, it stays very windy. We'll drop into the low 40s with a few clouds, and then breezy and sunny on Wednesday. It will be quite a bit cooler, highs around 70. That's your latest forecast. I'm meteorologist Steve Hamilton.
Thank you, Steve. Currently 67 degrees here in Roswell. Humidity is at 25%. Winds are out of the south at 10 miles per hour. That low humidity, the high winds, that's why they are issuing red flag warnings and high wind warnings for today. Both of those will kick in at noon, remaining in effect through 9 p.m. this evening. As Steve mentioned, expect not moisture, but plenty of wind, some blowing dust, this afternoon, mainly after 3 today. Mostly sunny, high of 83. Winds will be out of the southwest, 15 to 25, increasing 25 to 35, gusting as high as 45 miles per hour later this afternoon. Areas of blowing dust continue till about 9 p.m. tonight, mostly clear with an overnight low of 44. Winds will remain out of the west, 25 to 35, gusting as high as 45 miles per hour, dropping 10 to 20 out of the northwest later in the evening. For your Wednesday, patchy blowing dust once again for after 3 p.m., mostly sunny. Cooler tomorrow, 69 for a high with northwest winds 5 to 10 early, increasing 15 to 20, gusting as high as 30 miles per hour. So windy, but not as windy as today. Tomorrow night, partly cloudy, overnight low of 39. Winds will be out of the southwest, 15 to 25. Then after midnight, dropping down 5 to 10. Thursday, sunny, highs around 70. Winds will be more calm out of the southwest, 5 to 15 miles per hour. And then beginning Thursday night and through Sunday, we're looking at rain chances, pretty good ones too. 50% chance at some showers Thursday night, mostly cloudy, overnight low of 45. Friday, we're looking at a 70% chance at showers, mostly cloudy, and 57 for a high. 60% chance at showers Friday night, cloudy with an overnight low of 38. Saturday, we're looking at an 80% chance at showers, high of 46. So going to be chilly, and this could be a downright kind of nasty day on Saturday. And then Saturday night, we're looking at a 30% chance of rain before midnight, mostly cloudy, and overnight low of 30. 20% chance at some rain and snow showers on Sunday, mostly sunny, 55 for a high. And then sunny and mid-60s by the start of next week. So we got it all. So enjoy your 80s today, because by the weekend, we're hitting the 40s. So, all right, 9:25, we're going to take a 2.5-minute break, and then on the other side, we'll play our interview with Josh McDonald from the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation here on the other side. Don't go away. You're listening to Mornings with Mike Winters.
Spring is in the air, and so is the Yucca Blossom Trade Day Spring Fling. Join us for a free event this Saturday, April 5th, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., and this Sunday, April 6th, 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. at the Artesia Center in Artesia, New Mexico. Shop amazing local vendors, find unique treasures, and enjoy a fun-filled weekend while supporting small businesses. Plus, help bless the Stacia Landreth family by donating or bidding in our silent auction. All proceeds go directly to Stacia. Don't miss out on the Yucca Blossom Spring Fling. Shopping, community, and giving back. See you there.
This is the time of year we can get all 4 seasons in just one day. Hi, this is Ben Manette from Roswell Seed Company. 1 minute you're sweating in the sun, and the next minute you've got slush in your shoes. But that's winter in Roswell, and after 127 years, we're starting to get used to it. It's too early to plant very much, but you can fertilize pecan trees, spray for dandelions, order your bees, and pick up a new seed catalog. So come see us at Roswell Seed. Like Jim Gill would say, enjoy the warm days, but don't go far from the fire.
Hi, I'm Chef Anthony Noble at the Valley Cafe located at 801 West Brasher in Roswell. We want to welcome you for dinner 5 to 8 p.m. weekdays, except Wednesday we close at 2 p.m. If you haven't tried our food yet, I hope you come try one of our dinner entrees, pasta, soups, salads, burgers, and sandwiches, and our weekly specials as well. Let me make you great dinner. Visit the Valley Cafe at 801 West Brasher, the Orange Building across from Church on the Move in Roswell.
Can't see us in person? Find our full menu on DoorDash, Grubhub, and Uber Eats.
The Eastern New Mexico University System is proud to present One Eastern Day, sponsored by J.P. Stone Community Bank, Thursday, May 1st, 4 to 9 p.m. on the campus of ENMU Roswell. Come join ENMU for a family fun night featuring food trucks, inflatables, space painting, info booths, and live music by Roswell's own Grupo Maldad from 7 to 9 p.m. Bring the whole family out on May 1st to ENMU Roswell and join us for One Eastern Day. Visit roswell.enmu.edu for more information. Eastern New Mexico University. Student success. That's what we're about.
Are your kids riding safely? Did you know 3 out of 4 car seats are used incorrectly? Car seat inspection events happen all around New Mexico, free of charge by the NMDOT Traffic Safety Division. Certified child passenger safety technicians give parents and caregivers personal instruction on installation and use of your car seat. Make sure your kids are safe passengers. Go to SaferNM.org to find an event near you. Brought to you by this station and the NMBA.
Your fingernails grow faster on your dominant hand. Not sure which is your dominant hand? Just wait. You'll nail it. Here's Mike Winters.
And joining
Here's Mike Winters.
And good morning. It is 22 minutes after 9 o'clock. And joining us in studio this morning from the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, Roswell chapter, I guess you could say, Josh McDonald is here with us this morning. Good morning, Josh.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
I'm so glad you can spend a few minutes with us. Appreciate this. I guess before we talk about the banquet and all the food and fun and all that we're going to have on the 12th, give folks a little bit about what the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation is. I'm going to, people can kind of take a stab, based on the name. This is, this is with elk hunting. This is, it's all about the sportsmanship and just the traditions that are hunting and preserving and keeping those things going.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. We started back in 1984. 4 guys started it. And way back then, they saw that we need to conserve.
Mm-hmm.
We need to conserve wild places for everything we like to do in the wild, mainly for us as hunting, but not just hunting, for public access and for everything.
Well, and that's something that, I didn't mean to cut you off there, but this is something I don't think most people realize. People that don't hunt, fish, not outdoor people, they just watch it on TV or see, live in the city or whatever. They don't realize the best stewards and conservative people that are conservative, the nature and everything, are people that live in it and use it and dictate. Hunters are the best conservers of our nature than most people on the planet right now. And I think that's a misnomer that most people think. It's the people that are actually the hunters, the sportsmen. These are the folks that take care of the land way better than anybody else.
Absolutely, especially here in the United States, by any metric, hunters and fishermen are providing for conservation more than anybody else. And as we all know, as soon as 1 acre of land gets developed, it's gone forever.
Absolutely.
It will never be undeveloped. It will never get rewild.
Yeah.
So we need to conserve everything we can for hunting, fishing, and public access.
And so it kind of, to me, it's like, look, there's people on both sides of the spectrum that I really think at the end of the day, you want the same thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's what I'm trying to say is, this is common ground, folks. And for folks that, that's what these hunters and sportsmen are doing. They're out there saying, no, there's a place for both. We can protect the wildlife we have. We can be good stewards of the land, be good stewards of the animals and species and the different, cycle of life that goes on in these different pieces of property. And because the alternative is it gets turned into a neighborhood, a golf course, a new commercial shopping complex, or they just turn it into wilderness that nobody can do anything with. And guess what? When that happens, it gets worse than better, because now there's no one mitigating it, and there's fires, there's animals that can't do their natural thing because man is basically leaving that what I mean? Our hand has been there. We can't just leave it back to nature without there being consequences. So this is that creamy mix where humans and animals and nature coexist. How do we do that together?
Absolutely. And in a country that is divided in so many ways, almost all of us can agree that we do need wild places that people can go to and seek some solitude and use that resource as well.
But it's also the traditions of us, of Americans and humans. Contrary to popular beliefs, your burger did not come from a grocery store. I mean, you got it from there, but that's not where it came from. And guess what? They're back in, early country history. There wasn't a lot of cattle farms or any of that either. So guess how Americans got their food?
Right. And no matter who your ancestors are, all of them were hunters somewhere down the line. So that is part of our heritage.
And so that's what it really is, getting back to the nature, what humans and Earth, how we're supposed to coexist. And that's really what you guys are about.
Absolutely.
And so that's the kind of thing I'm trying to say. And this is what it makes, because we get your PETA World people and all those green, and I'm like, you don't realize the people that live and work and do and everything, the last thing they want is to live in a bad environment. So they're going to do extra hard to make sure that it's within, it's the same thing with, and I know this is out of your realm, but oil and gas and it's the same thing. Guess who lives in these places they're talking about? Oil and gas companies. They're going to be good stewards of it too. And this is the people that use the land and live in the land, are a part of the land, are going to be the best stewards of the land. And this is what you guys are about.
Yeah, absolutely. And bring up oil and gas, and we are not anti-development by any means. We understand, we need timber, we need oil and gas, we need mining, and we also need places where we can go and we can recreate and we can hunt and we can fish and we can all use those lands to the best that we need for our society.
Yeah, this is really about becoming one with our relationship between our nature and earth and man and its place in it. And this is and there is a right way to do this. And that's
there's a balance to everything.
Yeah, there's a balance to it. There's extremes, like you said, and that's what and New Mexico is one of these beautiful states that we have, and we got to balance it, preserve the things, the traditions, the heritage, the culture, the way of life of rural folks, but at the same time we get. Oh yeah, they're going to build the power plant. They're going to build the transport. They're going to build a community here, and so that's where we got to find the balance where we can do that. But at the same time, we have a place where we can go and take our family and hunt and camp and fish and enjoy the outdoors.
Right, and we want to make sure that we have those heritages and those traditions that keep on going. And as we know across the country, some of those traditions are under attack, and Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation is there to stand up for hunters and their rights.
Well, and I grew up Maryland East Coast area. That's where I'm from, the DC area, and similar but different problem is folks, East Coast is just way more developed than the West. It's just they've had a little bit of a head start, right? But it's just land is not as open and available as it is out west here. To buy an acre of land in the DC area is way harder to do than an acre of land in New Mexico.
Sure.
And it's all developed and so if you want to see what the kind of things that you guys are trying to preserve, take a trip back east. Because that's what happens unfeathered and what the big battle is now, because really the biggest patches of grass and green and things are in some of these areas are historical battlefields and where things like Valley Forge and Gettysburg and things like, and so the big fight there is to preserve these places because they're losing more and more of these places. And it's sad. You go to Gettysburg and you're sitting there at the most biggest impact of the battle, and you're seeing, and then you look in the distance, there's a KFC. You know what I mean? Right. And that's what we're trying to avoid. You know what I mean? And that's. And so the battle is kind of lost back east. And so we need to preserve what we got out west here, because if it doesn't, go look at New York City, go look at Washington, D.C., go look at their surrounding areas. The state of Maryland, it does have trees and green and grass and is way greener in here, but it's a suburb of Baltimore, D.C. There is very little what would be considered rural areas back there. I mean, there's some few tobacco farms south and the east, but it's strip mall after towns bleed together. That's something that I learned out here. I'm like, what do you mean? It's like back east, I just went through buildings and I see a sign that says, now I'm in Clinton, now I'm in Waldorf, now I'm in here. You literally drive an hour between towns or 3 hours between towns.
Sure, absolutely. And we want to make sure that we have some of those public spaces that are available.
And I know I'm getting winded and over the thing here, but this is what I'm trying to tell folks is you want to see what the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation is trying to preserve. It's see what East Coast looks like, and that's what happens when you lose it.
Right. And we just hit a major milestone. We just hit 9 million acres conserved earlier this year. So that's a huge number. Of course, that's throughout the whole country, but that's 9 million acres that will never be developed.
Exactly here. So if you want to be a part of this, learn more about it, have a good time, the annual banquet for the Roswell chapter of the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation will be happening here April 12th out at the Eastern Mexico State Fairgrounds. Are you in the commercial building, Hobson Hall, or do you know which building it is?
It's the right next to I think it was the dairy area.
Okay. It might be Hobson Hall.
I think that sounds right.
Yeah. Did they say the new building? Did they say anything like that? Did you hear any of that talk?
I don't remember which one it is.
But anyway, it'll be there at the fairgrounds. Just, park all the cars there. Now, talk a little bit about what's going to happen there on the 12th. A little bit about what the night's like and what you guys are going to be doing.
So the doors open at 5. We'll have some games, some raffles. Last year, I want to say we gave around about a dozen firearms we gave away.
Nice.
So yeah, you can come win a firearm. There'll be lots of other stuff.
Because you want to get people bring food and guns. The two
Exactly.
things people show up for.
Yep. And we'll have a catered dinner there around 6:30. Probably dinner will be served, and we'll have a silent auction, a live auction. Great time, and just a good group of people to come and hang out with, and like-minded people that really care about what the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation stands for, which is the future of elk, other wildlife, their habitat, and our hunting heritage.
If you are a hunter, a sports person like to go fishing and camping and enjoying nature, then guess what? Your mission is the same as their mission.
Absolutely. Yep. And I would say, at least here in New Mexico, and I deal with the whole state, I would say about a third of our volunteers don't hunt. They just support the mission.
Sure.
So most of our volunteers are hunters, but not all of them.
Yeah.
So even if you don't hunt, you're still welcome to come down.
If you can appreciate the beauty and the nature and what is New Mexico, if you can appreciate that, then you can also appreciate that.
Yes, absolutely. And you can always find us on rmef.org. I want to throw that out there. There's a little button there you can volunteer.
Okay.
And if you hit that button and give us your name and email, it'll come to me. And no matter where you are in the state, I mean, we need help here in Roswell. We need volunteers. We would love to have everybody down here. But if you're listening and you're somewhere else in the state, just hit that volunteer button, and I'll get you in touch with the chapter near you.
Absolutely, yeah. This is the thing. This is, we support it. Yes, if you're here in Roswell, please, love you. But yeah, if you're in Lovington or Hobbs or up north, let's get you in touch with some of those folks too.
Absolutely. And the backbone of Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation is volunteers. The only way we can get what we do done is through volunteers. And we have banquets, and we also have work projects throughout the state. So we do things like providing guzzlers, wildlife drinkers, reseeding after fires, getting rid of old fencing. So we do a lot of projects throughout the state, not just fundraising, but fundraising is a lot of what we do as well.
Putting that the actual conservation work and repair work from Mother Nature's previous
yes, sir.
Mother Nature's things and stuff, or man's implement there on Mother Nature there, which does happen. And to be honest, this is the kind of stuff like, and I don't like getting political, but this is one where you need to understand a little bit of the impact of politics here. When they kind of come and make these natural wilderness, when the federal government designates land as wilderness, the problem there is that it becomes off limits to everybody. And what happens is, and I've talked to enough folks that live here and understand, is when that happens, is the wilderness grows back. It grows, and it becomes a bigger fire hazard because no one's there preventing that from happening. Animals lose hunting grounds because this is why you see, when they started creating wilderness up in Lincoln County, now you're seeing spotted owls hanging out at Walmart. You know why? Because they can't hunt in their grounds anymore because it's too thick to see it. So now they're hanging out at Walmart, hoping you drop your hot dog. So that's what's going on there. And so this is the thing. We can't just let it go back to Mother Nature because we're already here and it's going to create problems. But we can go the other way and be a working hand partner with Mother Nature, so we can preserve these lands but still mitigate them so they're not fire problems, so that the animals continue to live and use in these things the way that they were doing it before. And so this is the balance, and this is where organizations like the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation said, we don't want it to get the federal government making wilderness and we can't do nothing to it. We want to have that relationship between humans and our land and doing the things that generations of families have been doing before there. So that's what it's about.
Right. And one of the things that Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation is doing more recently is getting more into the advocacy.
Yeah.
And there is a page there on our website that shows you exactly what we support. And one of those things is the active management of public lands. We really do support active management.
And so that's what we got. Because if we don't, then they try to put it in the wilderness, and then that makes it actually worse rather than better. At the end of the day, it does, because it just creates other problems. There's just been a big history of that. So but this is, I know we're getting down that road, but this is what happens when people that live in Washington that have never set foot in places like this make decisions about places like this.
And that's one of the things that Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation does do well, is that we have around 200 to 240,000 members throughout the country, and we need more members here in New Mexico.
Yeah.
So again, the volunteers are our backbone, and I would love to have more volunteers
here. This is real conservation, not puppet conservation. If that's what I mean, It's like clean energy. If you believe in clean energy, you're. I got some oceanfront property in Arizona to say there's no such thing as clean energy.
Right.
It does not exist. There's kind of like that when it comes to this world too. There's a lot of people that do things and say things that sound good, and then there's people that actually really do the work and actually do the stuff. This is what I'm talking about. These are the folks that live the area, breathe the area, they're part of the area, and they're doing everything they can to be one with the area, unlike some of the other things you're dealing with. So if you are a true conservationist, if you're a true believer in our land, these are the types of organizations you need to be involved in, not some of these others. That's what I'm selling. That makes sense.
Yeah.
And Josh, if I'm off, please tell me. But that's kind of, there's a difference between being a whatever fighter and then actually doing the work. And that's what the difference is. And please know that.
Sure, absolutely. And there are several other conservation organizations out there that do a great job, and we partner with a lot of them, Ducks Unlimited, some other organizations that support hunting as well. I happen to believe that Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation is the best conservation hunting related organization out there.
People that do extreme things to gather attention, and I'm not going to name names, you all can figure those things out. That's about all they're good for. When it comes to the real work and getting the actual thing done, you need people with boots on the ground, people that have actual knowledge, actual experience, and actual history with these things.
Right. And there are the other side of it too. Like I said, hunting is being attacked throughout the country. So if you believe that's an important part of our country and our heritage, we would love to have you as a volunteer. We'd love to have you as an attendee to the banquet and come on down and you'll meet people just like you and have the same similar thoughts.
None of us would be here without those people doing what they did before us.
Sure. Absolutely. We all would have starved to death.
Yeah, absolutely. So April 12th, what time does everything get underway there at
Doors are open about 5.
Okay.
Like I said, there'll be games and raffles, and we'll probably have dinner somewhere 6:30ish.
Excellent. And then, of course, this is a annual fundraising event for the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation Roswell chapter here, all going to conservation, going to preserving our hunting grounds and our lands for the next generations of families to enjoy and keep the Starbuckses and Taco Bells and McDonald's and
right
out of there.
Yeah.
Go camping.
And we would love to have everybody that can attend come on down and please buy your tickets early. We do have to, we've got a caterer, we've got to get them numbers. So the earlier you buy the tickets, the better it is for planning for us.
What is probably the most efficient way to get tickets for folks?
Easiest way is just go to rmef.org and go to events and go to New Mexico. And that'll show you all the New Mexico events happening.
Good deal. And then, in fact, if you have friends in other parts of the state or other states, you can, because like I said, all over the country, these banquets are going on. Maybe you got some friends in Texas or Utah or north. They can get involved in their local Rocky Mountain events and activities.
Absolutely. Like I said, we need volunteers everywhere. I mean, here in Roswell, that's what I'm here for. I would love to get more volunteers here. But if you live somewhere else in the state, let me know.
Put it on the radar.
And if you're anywhere else in the country, we need volunteers everywhere.
Yeah, this is strength in numbers. This is one of those things. And to be honest, the more and to be honest, this is something like when you guys go, because I imagine there's times where you guys are pleading to Congress or various other government entities to get them to see what you're doing, and the way they can get those audiences is the numbers in the organization, the membership numbers. Things like this is why, like if you look at American Legion and VFW and these things, they have strength in numbers. When they roll into Congress with something, they got a lot of people backing behind them. This is what you guys, the more people that are members of the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, whether it's here in Roswell or in Maine or wherever they're at, when they walk into Congress to go say, this is what, they can come and say, we got our 1 million members or whatever that number is behind us on that. And that money and votes make elected people listen. Right. And if you can threaten either one of those, they're going to listen to you.
And when we're a united group, we are a very powerful group. Yeah. And like I said, there are groups against us right now and a group against the American way and our hunting heritage. Mm-hmm. So like I said, if you care about that, now is the time to step up, become a member and hit that volunteer button and we can put you to work. We need you.
Absolutely. So yeah. And if you want to get more involved, Josh will probably have a few, I'm sure you've got definitely some committees and some different activity that we can get you more involved in.
Right. And no matter what your strong suit is out there, whether it's finance or whether it's digging ditches, like I said, we do work projects, we do fundraising, we do everything. So
absolutely. Yeah. Your lawyer skills, your accounting skills, your business skills, your leadership skills, whatever those skills are skills that are a benefit to the Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation.
Yes, sir. And at the end of the day, it's a benefit to our country and a benefit to our way of life. So we appreciate everybody that can help us out.
This is how we fix things and make things better in our life. I know it's fun to get on Facebook and spout and complain about whatever thing is in your craw at that moment. But at the end of the day, if you want it fixed, the only people going to fix it are the people that are caring about it. If you want a better place to live, get out and do something about it. If you're waiting on a government entity to do that or some other organization to do that, you're going to be waiting a long time.
I could not have said it better. Thank you.
Is there any other information, anything that, Josh, we want to mention that I sometimes get spaced on things, or just anything about the organization that we wanted to touch on that I kind of sidetracked us on?
Sure. We are on Instagram and Facebook, but the best place to get information is rmef.org, and we've got everything there from hunting tactics to our advocacy page to recipes to the volunteer work we're doing out throughout the country. So that's probably the best way to go. And like I said, we need help. So
this is as much as it is the advocacy group, it is a social group too. So
it's a community. Yeah, absolutely. And even if you don't think you have something to help, come on down. And once you start talking to people, if nothing else, you talk to people about what they were hunting last year, where they had success, where they didn't see things. So it's a great place to just come hang out and talk to like-minded people. Right. You got it.
Yep. How do you think all these fishermen find them good secret fisherman spots? They talk to each other. Same with hunters.
Yes, sir.
They might even let you use your blind stand if you're nice enough to.
That's asking a lot.
Just as long as they're not there,
right,
on the off weekends or whatever.
Right.
Good deal. Well, Josh, thank you very much for joining us here, and anytime you want to come on, even if it's just to say, hey, we're here, and we'd love to get more people. We'd love to have you do that. So.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate this opportunity. It really means a lot to us. Thank you.
Anytime. And again, April 12th at the Eastern New Mexico State Fairgrounds. Doors open at 6 p.m.
5 p.m. doors open.
Sorry. And then you can get your tickets, again, at the website.
rmef.org, and just go to events, go to New Mexico, and it'll be right there.
And if you remember none of that, just Google Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, and it should be the first thing that pops up on your, Google search there. So awesome. Thank you, Josh. I'm sure you got a few fire stops. We'll let you go do those, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
All right. Take care.
You too.
It is 9:45. Man, this morning's zipping by. I feel like it was just like 7 o'clock like a minute ago. But yeah, it's 9:45. Let's do this. Let's pause for news, weather.
I'm Jared Sorello. Thanks for joining us. Our top story, DHSEM's disaster case management team
and good
is hosting
morning.
Contractor Connects, a community repair and rebuilding expo on April 5th from 10 to 2 at ENMU Roswell's Physical Education Center in Roswell. The free, family-friendly, and open to the public event is designed to connect residents who had damages from the October floods to contractors who are licensed by the state of New Mexico. During the event, residents will meet with licensed contractors, hear about available services, learn about processes and permits, and take the first steps to rebuild and repair their properties. Roswell Police and New Mexico State Police have been working together on a recent operation targeting retail theft and shoplifting. The efforts resulted in criminal charges against 65 people. The operations were conducted over 9 randomly selected days from November to March in cooperation with loss prevention teams from Walmart, Target, Home Depot, and Marshall stores. 13 people were also physically arrested, according to a statement provided by Roswell Police. You're up to date. I'm Jared Sorello.
Waking up on the right side. This is the Sean Hannity Morning Minute.
The Trump Treasury Department revealed that the leading Democratic Party fundraiser, Act Blue, has been the subject of a number of suspicious activity reports. House investigators now requesting access to those reports. Elon Musk is questioning whether ActBlue might be funding terrorist activities carried out by anti-Tesla activists. 3 Republicans in Congress and administrative panels are urging Donald Trump's Treasury Department to share with lawmakers reports of suspicious financial transactions related to ActBlue. Other GOP lawmakers are demanding probes by the Treasury and the FBI into whether the fundraising platform has helped organizations that are engaging in domestic terrorism or violating federal campaign finance laws.
From coast to coast, from sea to shining sea, it's the Sean Hannity Show.
Hey, you exhausted every day? Maybe you have the 3 p.m. crash or struggling with memory issues, having a hard time focusing. You have to stop and pay attention to what I'm about to tell you. I never run out of energy, and I'm fully focused. Strong Cell. It's a revolutionary supplement that has truly changed my life. I use it every single day. It gives you natural energy, helps me stay focused all day long, and just makes me feel better overall. Whether you're a working mom or dad or homeschooling your kids or some of our loyal men and women behind the wheel across the country, try Strong Cell. It'll change your life. Linda uses it as well.
I use it every single day. I have my kids using it, my parents using it, my in-laws using it, my friends using it, and I am telling you, it is immediate. It is one of the only ways you can get NADH on the market, and it works.
Go to HannityStrong.com. Use promo code Hannity. You get a special 20% off any order. Once again, HannityStrong.com. And Strong Cell believes in their products so much, you get a 60-day no-risk policy. Invest in your health. I did it. It changed my life.
It's time for the Chaves County Sports Report. At the end of last week, we told you how Goddard and Roswell got into a wild softball game with Goddard winning 15-14. Well, that was on Thursday night. Friday, which we haven't had a chance to tell you yet, Roswell got a little measure of revenge by defeating Goddard by a score of 7-3. Roswell moves to 4-7 on the season. Goddard 9-6 now. Bella Ornelas for Roswell was 3 for 4 on the day. Yadira Aragon 3 for 4. Emily Marquez, she was 2 for 4 with 3 RBIs. Next up for the Coyotes, both teams have gotten extended time off before action later this week. For Roswell, it's a doubleheader at home against Artesia on Friday. For Goddard, they will be traveling to Clovis to play a pair on Saturday. The Sports Report brought to you by DSI. Call DSI for all your office technology needs. I'm Eric Butler at Roswell's Talk FM 106.5.
I'm meteorologist Steve Hamilton with your Pecos Valley weather. We have a high wind warning in effect today. We have cold front moving through the area. We won't see any rain with that, but the wind will be really gusty today, up to 50 miles an hour. Blowing dust, mostly sunny, and will be in the mid-80s. Overnight, it stays very windy. We'll drop into the low 40s with a few clouds, and then breezy and sunny on Wednesday. It will be quite a bit cooler, highs around 70. That's your latest forecast. I'm meteorologist Steve Hamilton.
With the Wall Street Business Report, I'm Rich Thomason. Volatility continues to rule the roost on Wall Street 1 day before President Trump rolls out his Liberation Day tariffs on America's trading partners. Tomorrow, the United States is set to impose reciprocal tariffs tailored to match what other countries levy on the U.S. President Trump says it's a matter of leveling the playing field with other countries, including some of our closest allies. Shares of Johnson & Johnson tumbled 3.5% after a bankruptcy court judge rejected the company's settlement plan related to baby powder containing talc. It's the third time the company's attempt to resolve the baby powder settlement through bankruptcy has been rejected by the courts. It's a big week for labor market reports, with the weekly layoffs report coming Thursday and the March jobs report due on Friday. For the Wall Street Business Report, I'm Rich Thomason.
The Roswell Symphony Orchestra presents Kinderman Plays Beethoven, Saturday, May 3rd, 7:30 p.m. at Pearson Auditorium in Roswell. William Kinderman returns to Roswell to perform Beethoven's Piano Concerto No. 5, Emperor, along with works by Weber, Dvorak, and Richard Strauss. Tickets are on sale now and are available at roswellsymphony.org or by calling 575-623-5882. Kinderman Plays Beethoven, Saturday, May 3rd, 7:30 p.m. at Pearson Auditorium in Roswell. Paid in part by the City of Roswell Lodgers Tax.
It's a great time to buy a Kubota. From America's #1 selling compact tractor to zero-turn mowers and versatile RTVs. Get your perfect match delivered to your door now through June 30th. Get 0 down, 0% APR for 84 months, or up to $3,000 off an L3302 compact Kubota tractor. Now through 6/30/2025. See us or go to KubotaUSA.com for more information. Visit Amigo Machinery in Roswell or see us online at amigo-machinery.com.
The Eastern New Mexico University System is proud to present One Eastern Day, sponsored by J.P. Stone Community Bank on Thursday, May 1st from 4 to 9 p.m. on the campus of Eastern New Mexico University, Roswell. Come join ENMU for a family fun night featuring food trucks, inflatables, info booths, and live music by Roswell's own Grupo Maldad from 7 to 9 p.m. Bring out the whole family May 1st to ENMU Roswell and join us for One Eastern Day. Visit roswell.enmu.edu for more information. Eastern New Mexico University. Student success. That's what we're about.
This is the time of year we can get all 4 seasons in just one day. Hi, this is Ben Manette from Roswell Seed Company. 1 minute you're sweating in the sun, and the next minute you've got slush in your shoes. But that's winter in Roswell, and after 127 years, we're starting to get used to it. It's too early to plant very much, but you can fertilize pecan trees, spray for dandelions, order your bees, and pick up a new seed catalog. So come see us at Roswell Seed. Like Jim Gill would say, enjoy the warm days, but don't go far from the fire.
Waymaker and Gateway Churches invite you to experience the proof of God's power to save, heal, transform lives, and break addictions. The Gospel Tent Crusade, Saturday, April 12th, beginning at 1 p.m. at Cahoon Park at the intersection of West 5th Street and North Kansas in Roswell. The Gospel Tent Crusade is free and open to everyone, and the first 200 people will receive free food and drinks. Come and find the purpose God has for your life. See you Saturday, April 12th, 1 p.m. at Cahoon Park in Roswell.
Roswell's home for talk radio is 106.5 FM, KEND Roswell.
Breaking news this hour from townhall.com. I'm John Scott. 3 special elections with national impact are being held today. In Central Florida, 2